exclaimed. It is said that Nan Gonghao possesses an enchanting appearance. Although I cannot perceive your protective aura, it is evident that you have captivated these three beauties, suggesting you are indeed quite handsome. Upon hearing this, Yin Xiaoqiao blushed and quickly protested. I am not. The eyes cannot be deceived, Princess Imo Ning replied with a smile. Qin Yin'er, astonished, turned to Yin Xiaoqiao. Sister, have you also succumbed? You must not steal brother Hao from us. Yin Xiaoqiao felt awkward, unsure of how to respond. Yet, Princess Imo Ning interjected. Not only can she not steal him, but you two must also make sacrifices. Nan Gonghao is to assist me with a task, and once completed, I may return him to you. Chapter 199. Ho Yi's Archery. Aerial confrontation. Princess Imo Ning's declaration infuriated the three women. You may leave, Qin Shuiyao stated coldly. Get lost. Qin Yin'er was less polite. Even Yin Xiaoqiao responded frostily. Princess, considering you are a guest, we can overlook this, but please depart. Unfazed, Princess Imo Ning smiled slightly. Collectively, you three may not even be my match. Feel free to try. Qin Shuiyao stepped forward without fear. Nan Gonghao scanned Princess Imo Ning with his spirit and discovered that she possessed 9 forms of great Dao power, indicating her formidable strength and talent. Truly, she was worthy of being the pride of the Invincible Dynasty. Nan Gonghao placed a reassuring hand on Qin Shuiyao's shoulder, signaling her to step back, and then approached Princess Imo Ning. You are Princess Imo Ning, correct? Does the Invincible Dynasty not have a princess? Upon hearing this, a wave of killing intent surged from behind Nan Gonghao, emanating from Qin Shuiyao. She recalled that during their time at Beima Academy, Nan Gonghao had summoned his future self to assist, only to hear that he was courting the princess of the Invincible Dynasty. Now, with Nan Gonghao inquiring about it, it was clearly ill-intentioned. Princess Imo Ning smiled lightly. The Invincible Dynasty has over 20 princesses. I wonder which one you mean? So many? Nan Gonghao was taken aback. The future self he had summoned never mentioned the princess's name. He had initially intended to understand why he was pursuing that particular princess, but it seemed that was no longer possible. Forget it. You may consider my inquiry as never having been made, he said, shaking his head slightly. Princess Imo Ning remained silent, but Qin Shuiyao scoffed. Disappointed, are we? Not at all. Curiosity is a natural trait. Do you not wish to know which princess I will pursue in the future? Nan Gonghao chuckled. Qin Shuiyao felt a flicker of curiosity, yet she maintained her indifferent facade, replying coldly, I have no interest. Qin Yin'er puffed out her chest and voiced her dissatisfaction. I am interested. What princess could possibly outshine me? Since that is the case, why not let the three of you accompany me? Princess Imo Ning said with a radiant smile. Not interested, the three of Nan Gonghao replied in unison. Princess Imo Ning lowered her head and smiled softly. I am merely here to notify you. After all, I know that with my abilities, I cannot take Nan Gonghao away. Someone else will come to escort you. Upon hearing this, the expressions of the group turned cold. It was evident that the elite of the Invincible Dynasty would be involved. Observing their anger, Princess Imo Ning chuckled. In fact, you should be a bit happier, for we seek Nan Gonghao for a significant matter. Even if you were to make me emperor right now, if I do not wish it, I would not agree. Nan Gonghao replied indifferently. Such individuality, Princess Imo Ning admired. Gazing at him, if it were not for my engagement, I might have truly been interested in you. Upon hearing this, the Qin sisters exchanged glances, feeling slightly relieved. An engagement brought a sense of security. However, their concern returned as they looked at Yin Xiaoqiao. Did she not also have engagement? After all, her fiancé's entire family had perished. After delivering her message, Princess Imo Ning turned to leave. Nan Gonghao watched her retreating figure, pondering the reason she sought him. It appeared she had no intention of causing trouble. Yet, one must remain cautious around such formidable powers. Just as Princess Imo Ning departed, another light shot down and landed with a thunderous crash, creating a massive crater in the ground, with debris scattering. This arrival was clearly aggressive and ominous. As the dust settled, a figure emerged, clad in straw sandals and a beast-skin skirt, resembling a primitive man. This man was tall, with bronze skin and a fierce countenance, exuding an overwhelming aura of menace. In that instant, a thought flashed through the minds of those present. A fierce deity. Which clan? Yin Xiaoqiao frowned, evidently more knowledgeable. The man paid no attention to her, his gaze fixed on Nan Gonghao, asking, Did you kill Kuo Fu? Nan Gonghao was taken aback. Are you a friend of Kuo Fu? Yes, I have come to take your life. The Witch clan members were known for their straightforwardness, lacking subtlety in their speech. Unfazed, Nan Gonghao stepped forward. Just you? You are far too lacking. Where are your top talents? The man fell silent, gathering strength beneath his feet, preparing to charge. Seeing this, Yin Xiao immediately shouted, "This is the English female sect. You cannot act recklessly. Should you engage, the elders will expel all members of the witch clan." The man, upon hearing this, flashed a cruel glint in his eyes and turned towards Yin Xiao. "Then I shall kill you, and no one will inform the English female sect." The malevolent aura emanating from him caused Yin Xiao to feel overwhelmed, her blood stirring chaotically, her spirit suffering damage, rendering her immobile. Despair washed over her. She was no match for this man and would be obliterated in an instant. Regrettably, she had hoped to draw closer to Nan Gonghao. Had she known this would occur, she would have willingly approached him regardless of the cost. The witch clan warrior, brimming with explosive power, rushed forward. Just as he was about to deliver a fatal blow to Yin Xiao, a hand, not particularly robust, reached out and firmly grasped the wrist of the witch clan warrior, rendering him utterly motionless. "Let go of me," the witch clan warrior roared, concentrating all his strength to shake off Nan Gonghao. Yet, with a flash of fierce intent in his eyes, Nan Gonghao exerted force. With a sickening crunch, the warrior's arm exploded into nothingness, eliciting a muffled groan of agony from him. Immediately, Nan Gonghao flicked a finger, intending to obliterate the warrior. To him, this man was hardly a worthy opponent and could be easily dispatched. However, in the next moment, Nan Gonghao's expression shifted slightly as he swiftly pulled the stunned Yin Xiao back. They had barely retreated when a gentle breeze swept by, and suddenly, a small hole appeared where Nan Gonghao had been standing, the size of a finger, yet unfathomably deep. Who was so shameless as to launch a surprise attack from afar? Qin Yan was infuriated. He did not launch a surprise attack. Otherwise, that arrow would not have carried a breeze. Nan Gonghao replied calmly. The others were taken aback, realizing it was an arrow. They not only failed to see it, but had not even heard a whisper of its flight. Could it be? Yin Xiao's face paled. It must be that legendary genius, Ho Yi. Nan Gonghao's gaze turned towards the direction from which the arrow had come. Possessing the Eye of Heaven, he discovered that Ho Yi was not within the English female sect. It turned out that he had not come to participate in the competition, but had shot the arrow from tens of thousands of miles away. Truly, he was deserving of being the most talented among the witch clan, undeniably formidable. Nan Gonghao understood that the previous arrow had been a show of mercy. He nodded indifferently, acknowledging the gesture. Ho Yi lightly nodded in return, then sent a message carried by the wind. "I apologize. He has already learned his lesson. Please let him go." Chapter 200. Unscathed Advancement. A stroke of luck. Ho Yi's plea from afar was delivered sincerely, which surprised Nan Gonghao. "Do you not know I killed Kwa Fu?" Nan Gonghao inquired from a distance. "I do." Ho Yi nodded. "Is it not your friend?" "He is a friend." "Do you not wish for revenge?" "I do." Nan Gonghao found Ho Yi's responses rather perplexing. Ho Yi then stated calmly, "Although you killed Kwa Fu, it was a fair confrontation. Kwa Fu merely fell short in the contest for treasures. Thus, while I am angered by his death, I will not underestimate or neglect you. You are truly a worthy adversary." Nan Gonghao understood, nodding slightly. "What a pity. We are destined to remain enemies." Ho Yi also expressed regret. "Then let us be lifelong adversaries. That is quite fine." Nan Gonghao smiled faintly and then glanced at the disarmed witch clan warrior. "You may leave." The witch clan warrior gritted his teeth, casting a look of intense hatred at Nan Gonghao. He could not fathom why Ho Yi did not simply kill Nan Gonghao outright. Yet, knowing he was no match, he opted for retreat. Once he departed, the nearby women all approached. Since Nan Gonghao had communicated privately, they had not heard the exchange between him and Ho Yi. Qin Shui Yao expressed her concern. "That arrow was fired by Ho Yi." "Indeed, but he is not here." Nan Gonghao shook his head. "That is wonderful." Yin Xiao sighed in relief. "He is a terrifying figure. My master has warned that we must never oppose him." The Qin sisters nodded vigorously in agreement. However, Nan Gonghao merely smiled lightly. "We are already enemies. It's just that Ho Yi is currently occupied." The three women were instantly taken aback. They felt that Nan Gonghao's expression did not reflect the presence of an additional enemy, but rather that of a newfound dear friend. Is the camaraderie among men always so peculiar? The earlier confrontation had drawn the attention of several onlookers, especially elders who sensed the astonishing arrow from Ho Yi and rushed over to investigate. After all, the protective formation was temporarily disabled to welcome guests. Should any troublemakers attempt to exploit this, it would be troublesome. Nan Gonghao instructed Yin Xiaoqiao to handle the situation. He himself sought a quiet place to reflect. After this competition, the Invincible Dynasty would undoubtedly come seeking trouble, and he needed to devise a strategy. Time passed swiftly. The next day marked the official commencement of the competition. Prior to the contests, there would be a gathering for speeches. Wu Feng served as the venue for the competition, featuring a vast platform divided into 4 sections for simultaneous contests. Surrounding Wu Feng, numerous stands have been erected, with a variety of beings gathered to observe. In the prime viewing area stood the 7 foremost powers and top experts from various elite factions. At this moment, those elite figures were lined up, surveying the entire arena, with the head of the English female sect seated in the center. The Zhongzhu was enveloped in a divine radiance, rendering their visage indistinct, and spoke in a chilling tone. Today marks the internal competition of the Yingnu Zong. We welcome all esteemed guests. The assembled audience had already gathered and responded in unison. Thank you, Zhongzhu. The atmosphere was vibrant, akin to a roaring sea. Among the crowd, Nan Gonghao whispered to the 2 women beside him, Qin Xiao and Qin Yanzi. If the situation turns unfavorable, withdraw from the competition immediately. Yingnu Zong cannot dictate my fate. He had observed numerous formidable opponents, and sensed that this contest might present unforeseen complications. Nan Gonghao was acutely aware that his previous actions in eliminating certain strongholds had likely provoked retaliation. Yet, he harbored an inkling that there were other underlying motives at play. An inexplicable, oppressive atmosphere lingered among the crowd, suggesting that these individuals were aware of impending events. Yet none dared to articulate their thoughts. Once the clamor subsided, the Zhongzhu continued. This competition offers 10 prizes, with rewards for the top 10 contestants. I encourage all to participate vigorously. However, let friendship take precedence over rivalry. We must strive to avoid casualties. Should any injuries occur, Yingnu Zong will impose penalties upon the offending sect. Concerned about potential harm, Yingnu Zong required each participating external sect to deposit valuable treasures as a guarantee. In the event of intentional harm or fatalities, the deposited items would be confiscated, but would be returned once the competition concluded, demonstrating Yingnu Zong's determination to maintain order and deter recklessness among the factions. This approach proved effective, instilling a sense of caution even among the most powerful sects, who were loath to relinquish their precious artifacts. After delivering these remarks, the Zhongzhu added, the competition consists of 3 rounds. The first round will see opponents drawn by lot. Those who wish to participate may come forth in turn. Instantly, numerous prodigies from various factions lined up to take the stage, with a notably larger turnout this year, many of whom had come specifically to challenge Nan Gonghao. Their gazes were filled with malice, eager to draw him as their adversary. However, Nan Gonghao remained impassive as he approached the drawing barrel, unfazed by the tension that gripped others who hesitated for long moments before daring to draw. He reached indecisively, retrieving a bamboo stick. The front bore his number, while the back displayed that of his opponent, 188. Nan Gonghao announced the number of his challenger, prompting those around him to lower their heads to check their own numbers. Soon, a young prodigy from second-tier sect in Zhongzhou turned pale. He was the one designated as number 188, set to face Nan Gonghao. Although this individual was no weakling, having just entered the realm of the holy, he was nonetheless daunted. The second-tier sects of Zhongzhou were considered equivalent to first-tier sects in the eastern wilderness, and those present were the finest talents from each faction. The 188th prodigy had previously harbored ambitions of showcasing his skills, perhaps even attracting the attention of a few young ladies from Yingnu Zong through a potential alliance. But now, all thoughts of allure vanished before the daunting reputation of the number 1 on the ancient holy list. Can I forfeit? He stammered, trembling. Curious glances were cast in his direction, some filled with sympathy, others with disdain. His accompanying family members displayed expressions of shame and despair. Why, of all the talents, did their scion have to face this harbinger of death? This was not the first time a contestant had chosen to withdraw on the spot. The elder in charge of the competition for Yingnu Zong, seasoned in such matters, solemnly inquired, I will confirm once more, do you truly wish to forfeit? The 188th prodigy, with a face full of bitterness, nodded. Yes, I confirm my withdrawal. Very well. Nan Gonghao advances to the second round, the elder stated nonchalantly. A wave of astonishment rippled through the crowd. Many had come specifically to witness Nan Gonghao's prowess in battle. Yet now he advanced to the second round without even stepping onto the stage. In contrast to Nan Gonghao's fortunate turn of events, the Qin sisters faced a more daunting scenario. Both were first-star holy practitioners, and despite Nan Gonghao's guidance in harnessing the power of the Tao, they now confronted two prodigies from a first-tier sect in Zhongzhou, one a 3-star and the other a 5-star holy practitioner. Anxiety gripped the sisters as they worried about their capabilities. Upon returning to his position, Nan Gonghao employed his divine sight to observe the sisters' opponents and quietly advised Qin Shuiyao as she returned. Aim for your opponent's left flank when you engage. Yinzi, your adversary likely excels in raw power. Outmaneuver him to conserve your stamina. Qin Xiao nodded in understanding, while Qin Yinzi appeared uncertain. But that is a 5-star holy practitioner. How can I possibly outlast him? Have you forgotten the divine patterns I inscribed upon you? Nan Gonghao replied nonchalantly. Upon hearing this, both sisters blushed brightly. Particularly, Qin Shuiyao shot an exasperated glare at Nan Gonghao, recalling the previous night when he insisted on inscribing the patterns upon their bare skin, leaving them vulnerable. While Qin Shuiyao had somewhat acclimated to such encounters, Qin Yinzi had been thoroughly exposed, and if not for Qin Shuiyao's timely interruption, things might have escalated. Were it not for the potent strength bestowed by the divine patterns, Qin Shuiyao might have doubted Nan Gonghao's intentions. As the drawing concluded, the first contestant stepped forward. A top-tier prodigy who appeared to be a disciple from the peak of Yingnu Zone, though not the lesser Zhongzhou. Nan Gonghao had heard others call her Xia, the second senior sister among the younger generation. As Xia took the stage, she glanced back at Nan Gonghao and coldly remarked, I've just emerged from seclusion and heard of your reputation. It is a pity we could not cross paths. Nan Gonghao sensed an undercurrent of hostility directed at him from this woman, stirring his curiosity. He had never encountered her before today. What grievance could she possibly harbor? Beside him, Qin Yinzi stifled a laugh, casting a teasing glance at Qin Shuiyao. Oh dear sister, looks like our second senior sister has set her sights on Brother Hao. What shall we do? Perhaps you should sacrifice yourself to keep her company? Silence, Qin Shuiyao retorted, her face aflame with embarrassment as she shot a fierce glare at Qin Yinzi. Nan Gonghao, taken aback, wondered aloud. Does she have feelings for me? You too. Be quiet. Do you want me to bite you? Qin Shuiyao threatened, glaring at him. Cough, look. She has made her move. Nan Gonghao swiftly redirected the conversation. Just as the Qin sisters turned to observe, they witnessed Xia's opponent being flung from the competition arena with ease. The fallen combatant was an 8-star holy practitioner and even possessed a Tao power, yet he had not even had the chance to retaliate before being expelled from the competition. While the disciples of Yingnu Zone regarded this as ordinary, the outsiders were left in shock. Xia was undeniably a top-tier prodigy. Returning to her place among the disciples without a trace of emotion, the next match commenced. An outsider, a member of a different race, coldly fixed his gaze on Nan Gonghao. I await you in the second round. I hope you meet your end at my hands. Nan Gonghao frowned. You are not worthy. Though Xia's threats carried weight, Nan Gonghao deemed her deserving of respect, while the beastly prodigy was simply too weak to warrant such bravado. Surprised by Nan Gonghao's dismissal, the outsider gritted his teeth. You will regret this. It is futile. Your opponent is stronger than you, Nan Gonghao retorted, falling silent thereafter. The extraordinary beast, filled with indignation, charged towards the arena, eager to demonstrate its prowess. Alas, despite possessing a lower realm than its opponent, it was swiftly subdued within 3 moves. The beast's confidence crumbled, leaving its dignity in tatters. Just moments ago, it had issued threats to Nan Gonghao, yet it faltered before even reaching the second round. What a disgrace. The onlookers, however, were gripped by anxiety. Typically, strength is assessed through the hierarchy of realms and past achievements. The beast, as previous accolades aside, its cultivation was undoubtedly superior to that of its adversary. Yet, Nan Gonghao had confidently predicted its defeat. Could it be that he possessed foresight or some means of discerning hidden abilities? If so, his terrifying prowess would escalate to an entirely new echelon. Soon, the sisters Qin Xiao entered the fray. Their combat techniques confirmed the spectators' suspicions. Qin Shuiyao launched a relentless assault on her opponent's left flank, disregarding all costs, causing the adversary's old wounds to resurface, leading to their downfall. Qin Yunhe, on the other hand, engaged in a war of attrition, absorbing spiritual energy through her divine patterns while her opponent faltered without such aid, ensuring her victory. Witnessing the two women triumph effortlessly against formidable foes, and knowing their close ties with Nan Gonghao, The crowd began to comprehend that he indeed had the ability to discern the weaknesses of his adversaries and had likely shared this knowledge with the sisters. Amidst the spectators' heavy hearts, the competitions continued one after another. However, a notable trend emerged. Fewer challengers dared to provoke Nan Gonghao, as none could ascertain whether they would truly emerge victorious. The embarrassment of boasting only to be defeated loomed large. Only top-tier prodigies like Xia retained sufficient confidence to engage in such folly. Yet, even the most elite would refrain from premature provocations, choosing instead to wait until facing Nan Gonghao to speak. After 3 long days, the first round of the tournament finally concluded. As all participants were cultivators, rest was unnecessary, and time passed without issue. The second round commenced, featuring group battles. 8 participants were grouped together for a melee. The tournament of Ying and Zhang not only tested combat prowess but also adaptability. When one finds themselves in the wild, confronted by a multitude of foes, potentially not even their adversaries, what should one do? Forge alliances and divide the enemy. This group melee tested such adaptability. Consequently, the Ying Zhang implemented special arrangements. Each disciple participating in the tournament would be assigned to a group with outsiders, or, alternatively, a group comprised entirely of Ying Zhang disciples. This ensured that no Ying Zhang disciple could conspire to bully outsiders while simultaneously enhancing their ability to adapt without the support of friends from their sect. To be honest, Nan Gonghao greatly admired the Ying Zhang's approach. This truly cultivates disciples. In the second round, participants were assigned to their groups by lottery. Nan Gonghao remained unperturbed, fully aware that regardless of which group he entered, the others would likely conspire against him. The lottery concluded, and to his surprise, Nan Gonghao found himself in Group 1, the first to compete. The crowd erupted with excitement. They were finally going to witness Nan Gonghao in action. It was clear to them that the other 7 members of Group 1 would unite against him. A spectacle awaited. As Nan Gonghao took the stage, the other 7 contestants followed. Among them were 3 prodigies from second-tier forces, 3 from first-tier forces, and notably, 1 for the invincible imperial dynasty of Zhongzhou. None other than Princess Mo Ning, who had earlier declared her intention to claim Nan Gonghao. Standing on the arena, Princess Mo Ning appeared somewhat perturbed. Her participation had been a mere whim, and she had not anticipated encountering Nan Gonghao so fortuitously. "Are you withdrawing?" Nan Gonghao inquired, his demeanor calm as he regarded her. "Princess Ning hesitated." Meanwhile, the other prodigies quickly conspired together. A tall young man urged her, "Princess, join us. Together, we can undoubtedly defeat him." The other prodigies, though anxious, looked at her with hopeful anticipation, convinced that with Princess Mo Ning's strength, their chances of success would greatly increase. Initially hesitating, Princess Mo Ning decisively moved to stand behind Nan Gonghao. "Let's collaborate instead." Upon hearing this, the expressions of the opposing prodigies turned pale. They had not expected the 2 strongest individuals to ally. The tall prodigy quickly exclaimed, "Princess, if you collaborate with us to defeat Nan Gonghao, your strength will surely surpass ours. But should you defeat us first and then face him alone, defeat is inevitable." Ignoring him, Princess Mo Ning remained steadfast, quietly observing. Seeing this, Nan Gonghao approached the group of prodigies. They exchanged tense glances, recognizing their shared despair. The tall prodigy gritted his teeth. "Everyone, let us not hesitate. Unleash our strongest attacks." We cannot believe he can remain unfazed by all of this. Despite their trepidation, the surrounding melee continued, and the audience focused intently on them. Should they waver now, it would be an embarrassment they could never recover from. Forget it. We'll just assume Ying Zhang won't allow serious harm or killing. They were confident he would not dare to go all out. With a roar, they pooled their energies, determined to unleash their mightiest assault. The crowd, initially concerned they might withdraw, breathed a sigh of relief as they witnessed their resolve to fight together. Anticipation surged. They would finally see Nan Gonghao take action. Unfazed, Nan Gonghao stood at a distance as the prodigies conjured an awe-inspiring attack. A peculiar wave of energy emanated, enveloping the prodigies in an overwhelming aura of murderous intent. "What is this? Hell!" They screamed in terror, their confidence evaporating as they succumbed to panic. They struggled futilely against the air, their voices rising to frantic cries. The audience watched in stunned disbelief. What was happening? A mirage? With a casual flick of his wrist, Nan Gonghao summoned a gust of wind, effortlessly casting the prodigies from the arena. They made no effort to resist, and, upon landing outside the arena, quickly regained their composure, bewildered as they surveyed their surroundings. Witnessing this, the crowd wore expressions of solemnity. Such a bizarre attack, and they could not fathom the means by which their opponents had been defeated. Brinques morning undeteret. Gracefully withdrew. I shall take my leave, but remember, after the tournament, you must accompany me. She smiled, her eyes crescent-shaped, referring to herself as sister. Despite being 2 years older than Nan Gonghao, contemplating, he flicked his finger, unleashing a powerful gust. Princess Mo Ning's expression shifted as she realized Nan Gonghao's sudden intent to act. She immediately summoned her powers to retreat, aiming to escape the confines of the arena, beyond which he could not harm her. Unfortunately, she still could not evade the forceful energy. Princess Mo Ning, without a moment's hesitation, summoned the divine artifact she possessed to obstruct her opponent. However, to her astonishment, the force morphed into a binding rope that ensnared her, forcibly returning her to the arena. Just moments prior, Princess Mo Ning had yet to withdraw from the competition, rendering her not defeated. Unaware of Nan Gonghao's intentions, she cried out, "I concede." Yet before she could utter the word lost, Nan Gonghao reached out and delivered a powerful punch that shattered her protective divine artifact. Mo Ning let out a muffled groan, blood seeping from her alluring red lips, indicating she had sustained injuries. Nan Gonghao merely extended his hand, pointing to a pendant around her neck. "Is this a forbidden artifact? What good does it do you?" "You are still under my control," he remarked with an easy smile. The onlookers in the distance wore grave expressions. Despite Princess Mo Ning's protection from the forbidden artifact, she could still be subdued. What fate awaited those without such protection? Surely it would be far grimmer. Meanwhile, a messenger from the Invincible Dynasty stood abruptly, declaring in a deep voice, "Nan Gonghao, the princess has already chosen to concede. Are you intending to go against the rules of the Yingnu sect?" "No, I merely wish to remind you," Nan Gonghao replied nonchalantly. "Do not provoke me lightly, or be prepared to defend yourself with imperial artifacts in the future." "Forbidden artifacts? That won't do." With a casual gesture, he released Princess Mo Ning from her confinement. She felt an immediate sense of relief, but her face flushed with indignation, her silver teeth clenched. "Nan Gonghao, you scoundrel." This left Nan Gonghao perplexed. "What have I done to be called a scoundrel? I merely broke one of your divine artifacts. Bring it forth, and I shall restore it. With the order of artifacts in place, nothing is beyond repair." Of course, this was not out of goodwill. He was primarily concerned that Princess Mo Ning would spread rumors of his character, tarnishing his reputation. To his surprise, upon hearing this, Princess Mo Ning grew even more furious. "I shall not be bothered by you." With that, she stormed off. Nan Gonghao stood, bewildered. What a peculiar temperament. In a group battle, Nan Gonghao emerged victorious once more, briefly showcasing his abilities. Although it did not fully satisfy the audience, it was enough to pass the round. Upon his return, however, he discovered that Qin Shuyao and her sister had sustained considerable injuries, with several bones fractured. Given their appearance, it was evident that their group had faced a brutal fight. Fortunately, the sisters had still emerged victorious and would proceed to the third round. Nan Gonghao quickly retrieved the healing elixirs he had prepared earlier to aid their recovery. Just then, Yin Xiaoqiao approached with a peculiar expression. "Young Master Nan Gong, what have you done to Princess Mo Ning?" Nan Gonghao looked puzzled. "I haven't done anything at all." "Then why is she so enraged, hurling accusations at you of being a scoundrel, and seeking out several prodigies to teach you a lesson in the third round?" Yin Xiaoqiao asked, clearly hesitant. Thankfully, the Qin sisters were still busy healing and did not overhear this conversation. Nan Gonghao's expression darkened. "I only damaged her divine artifact. Is it necessary to spread such unfounded rumors?" "What? You broke Princess Mo Ning's forbidden artifact?" Yin Xiaoqiao was taken aback. "That explains everything." Chapter 203. I only use one path to deal with you. Observing Yin Xiaoqiao's astonished demeanor, Nan Gonghao felt a sense of confusion. What was the issue with shattering Princess Mo Ning's divine artifact? Yin Xiaoqiao, witnessing his ignorance, could not help but smile wryly. When Princess Mo Ning was young, she was nearly bullied by a malevolent, powerful being, which left her with a psychological scar. She fashioned her protective divine artifact into a form resembling a bodice. Realization dawned upon Nan Gonghao. The bodice-shaped divine artifact he had destroyed had indeed left her feeling exposed. It was no wonder she was incensed. As for her intention to seek vengeance, he was indifferent. No need for Princess Mo Ning to seek out others. Those prodigies will undoubtedly come after me. Yin Xiaoqiao remained silent, filled with trepidation. The third round of combat was a challenge round. although there were regulations prohibiting multiple challenges against the same individual. Everyone was well aware that Nan Gonghao would not shy away from any challenge. As long as someone stepped forward, he would surely accept. The second round of group battles, which had extended over several days, concluded in less than 4 days. All spectators eagerly anticipated the third round of competition. For in this round, Nan Gonghao could not escape. The first 2 rounds could be described as extraordinarily fortunate for him. His first opponent had forfeited, and the second was not particularly formidable. To be candid, many beings who had come solely to witness Nan Gonghao's prowess were exceedingly dissatisfied. They had come to see him engage in fierce combat with the other prodigies, not to witness his sheer luck. Indeed, many beings with extreme personalities had begun to suspect that the Yingnu sect was engaging in some form of foul play. Although they did not dare to voice their suspicions openly, they whispered many disparaging comments among themselves. After all, Nan Gonghao was strikingly handsome, and his demeanor was undoubtedly captivating. Thus, many speculated whether the female disciples of the Yingnu sect had simply not encountered a man in too long. Upon seeing someone as handsome as Nan Gonghao, they all seemed to have gone soft on him. Otherwise, even if he were genuinely powerful, he should not pass the first 2 rounds so effortlessly. At the very least, he ought to have entered the third round with injuries. At this moment, numerous prodigies who could have posed a threat to Nan Gonghao had already sustained injuries. Even the inheritors of the strongest factions had faced formidable foes in the second round. Why had Nan Gonghao been so fortunate, evading danger in both rounds? Finally, the third round arrived. In the third round of combat, participants could issue challenges at will, although the recipient could refuse, but only up to 2 times. Otherwise, it would be treated as a forfeit. The elder from the Yingnu sect announced the rules, causing an immediate uproar among the crowd. After 2 rounds of competition, nearly 1,000 participants remained in the arena. These beings quickly turned their attention to Nan Gonghao. Subsequently, a portion of them shifted their gaze, believing themselves unworthy opponents of Nan Gonghao, thus seeking others to challenge. Xia, did you not claim you would challenge Nan Gonghao? A nonchalant prodigy from the Yin clan inquired. Xia, fixated on Nan Gonghao, gritted her teeth and replied, "If you wish to challenge him, then go ahead." The Yin clan prodigy sneered. Indeed, it seems the Yingnu sect has not encountered a man in ages. Upon seeing Nan Gonghao, you are rendered speechless. Preposterous. What nonsense are you spouting? Xia glared at the Yin clan prodigy. Am I mistaken? You pretended to provoke Nan Gonghao before. Now that the opportunity presents itself, you are unwilling to take action? The Yin clan prodigy scoffed. The surrounding prodigies wore stoic expressions. It was evident they harbored similar thoughts. They regarded the Yingnu sect disciples still in the arena with skepticism and disdain. The Yingnu sect disciples felt indignant. While they indeed found Nan Gonghao attractive, it did not imply they would resort to cheating. Moreover, the remarks made were excessively harsh. What did it mean to say they had not seen a man in such a long time? Was that not insinuating they were debased, merely consumed by spring fever? Xia, gritting her teeth, fixed her gaze on the Yin clan prodigy. Do you not wish to challenge Nan Gonghao? Very well, I challenge you now. What? Are you unable to resist coming to Nan Gonghao's defense publicly? The Yin clan prodigy taunted. But I possess the right to refuse. You. Xia's fury flared. Yet, she found herself at a loss for words. For the challenge party had the right to refuse, as stipulated by the higher-ups of the Yingnu sect. Observing the Yin clan prodigy's haughty demeanor, Xia's fists clenched tightly. However, she had lost her opportunity to challenge the Yin clan prodigy and could not challenge Nan Gonghao either. After all, following her earlier bravado, the sect leader had personally warned her against challenging Nan Gonghao and instructed her to allow outsiders to take on that role. Otherwise, Xia would have been the first to step forward. At that moment, a Lei Jiaoshi, shimmering with the brilliance of lightning, emerged. Its voice akin to thunder. Nan Gonghao, you have stealthily attacked the stronghold of my clan, and now the time has come for you to repay your debts. Upon hearing that someone finally dared to challenge Nan Gonghao, the onlookers were instantly invigorated. The Tianjiao of the Yin clan mockingly remarked to Xia, "You are quite fortunate. He has been challenged by another." Xia, however, paid no heed, her gaze cold and unwavering. She had been in seclusion, only hearing whispers of Nan Gonghao's deeds. Even during the previous 2 matches, she could not discern the true extent of his power. Thus, she was eager to witness it for herself, seeing that it was the Lei Jiaoshi who had boldly stepped forward to issue a challenge. Nan Gonghao swept a scornful glance over the multitude of Tianjiao present. You come here under the pretense of seeking vengeance, yet none dare to be the first to confront me? Do you intend to rely on others to wear me down? His words struck a chord with many of the Tianjiao. Xia's expression shifted to one of realization as she coldly mocked the Yin clan Tianjiao beside her. You have derided me for so long, yet you lack the courage to act? Do you still require the assistance of the Lei Jiao, Shi clan? The Yin clan Tianjiao, taken aback by Nan Gonghao's words that had humiliated him, seethed with anger. The next to challenge him will be me. He gritted through clenched teeth. The other Tianjiao, feeling indignant, also expressed their desire to challenge him. After all, Nan Gonghao had made his intentions clear. If they did not seize the opportunity, they would be looked down upon. The Tianjiao of the Lei Jiaoshi clan cast a disdainful glance at the other Tianjiao. You cowards have lost your chance. As Nan Gonghao ascended the arena, he addressed the Lei Jiaoshi Tianjiao. Are you the finest of your clan? Of course not. But I need not call upon my clan's top talents to deal with you. The Lei Jiaoshi, with its sharp horn radiating pure white arcs of lightning, responded furiously. You audacious fool. You dare to use my clan's Thunder Path against me. No, not just you. All challengers here today will face me using your clan's path. Nan Gonghao declared, his gaze provocative. The sisters Qin Shui Yao aimed for a spot in the top 3, and Nan Gonghao sought to eliminate obstacles for them, thus challenging all to confront him. Chapter 204, next. Nan Gonghao issued a bold proclamation, provoking everyone present, pledging to employ only their respective paths in combat. This audacious taunt ignited a tempest of excitement among the crowd. All beings looked incredulously at Nan Gonghao. They were aware of his arrogance, but none anticipated such brazen defiance. Provoking the entire assembly? Certainly, this had been done before. However, to declare that he would rely solely on one type of power, specifically that of his opponents, was utterly unfathomable. This was no longer mere confidence. It bordered on madness. Many powerful figures shook their heads in disbelief. The Tianjiao of the Yin clan revealed sinister smiles. This boy is courting death. Xia, you need not play the part anymore. His demise is inevitable. It seems we need not rush to challenge others. Let us see how he meets his end. Indeed, those who were already inclined to challenge Nan Gonghao began to murmur among themselves. Some Tianjiao who initially doubted their chances against him hesitated. If Nan Gonghao truly intended to use only one path, perhaps they could give it a try. After all, was he not relying on the power of the path, particularly the Supreme One, to act so arrogantly? From a distance, Princess Mo Ning ground her teeth as she glared at Nan Gonghao. This bastard is insufferably arrogant. He deserves a beating. Beside her stood a striking figure clad in white, her slender waist accentuated by her alluring curves, complemented by an astonishingly beautiful face that exuded pure temptation. Yet when she spoke, her words infuriated Princess Mo Ning further. Mo Ning, is he deserving of a beating because of his arrogance, or because he touched you? Princess Mo Ning's flawless visage flushed with anger and embarrassment as she retorted. I will say it once more. He did not touch me. The pure, ethereal maiden smirked, teasing. Who knows? After all, if he did touch you, you would surely deny it. Princess Mo Ning, vexed, stamped her foot. Under normal circumstances, she would have taken action. Alas, she could not match wits with this girl, nor could she overpower her. The pure maiden settled into her seat, her long, elegant legs crossed beneath her skirt, radiating an otherworldly aura. Gulme, sit with me and observe how powerful this man truly is. Powerful? Nonsense. If he genuinely dares to rely solely on one path to fight the Tianjiao present, he will undoubtedly be defeated. Princess Mo Ning, begrudgingly, took her seat, transferring all her ire onto Nan Gonghao, eagerly anticipating his punishment. On the arena, the Lei Jiaoshi Tianjiao was taken aback. An inadvertent remark had prompted Nan Gonghao to make such a bold proclamation. No wonder he dared to provoke such formidable forces. He certainly possessed confidence, but it was also a recipe for disaster. Crack! A bolt of lightning descended from the heavens, striking fiercely towards Nan Gonghao. In an instant, Nan Gonghao vanished, appearing behind the Lei Jiaoshi Tianjiao, clutching a round thunderball that was hurled forward. Boom! The ground trembled, and within a 2-meter radius, a miniature thunder pool was formed. However, the Lei Jiaoshi Tianjiao had evaded it, his expression grave. After their brief exchange, he discerned that Nan Gonghao's mastery of the Thunder Path was indeed superior. This was preposterous. The Lei Jiaoshi clan was born within the Thunder Pool, reputed for their unparalleled understanding of thunder and lightning. It had controlled the Thunder Path since birth. Yet today, they found themselves outmatched by a mere human. The Lei Jiaoshi, unyielding, summoned countless lightning swords that surged towards Nan Gonghao. Nonchalantly, Nan Gonghao unleashed a massive net of lightning, ensnaring the swords and crushing them into arcs of electricity. Yet, the Lei Jiao she was already launching forward, propelled by the lightning beneath its feet. It appeared that the previous move was merely a distraction. Now it charged forth, expelling a golden thunderball. What a golden thunder! Who doesn't he have one? The Lei Jiao she roared. The destructive force radiating from that golden thunderball sent shivers through the multitude observing from afar, particularly the Tianjiao competitors who questioned their ability to withstand such an attack. They wondered how Nan Gonghao would counter it. Surely, it would be a formidable challenge. Most likely, he would evade. However, upon seeing the thunderball, Nan Gonghao merely smiled faintly. I expected you to have something impressive after holding back for so long. Whoosh! He dashed forward, his body enveloped in golden light, and punched the thunderball. At the moment of collision between his fist and the golden thunderball, an infinite surge of lightning erupted, enveloping the surrounding realm. Many beings were compelled to shield their eyes, as they realized that this lightning could inflict harm. What kind of pressure would Nan Gonghao face amid such terrifying power? Yet, many strong figures remained unfazed by the lightning, their eyes fixated on the two figures within the radiance. The next moment, a Saint King from the Lei Jiao Shi clan bellowed, "Stop!" Many beings were left bewildered as to what had transpired. Soon, the lightning dissipated from the arena. Nan Gonghao stood calmly, holding a single horn aloft. His opponent, the Lei Jiao Shi Tianjiao, lay in a pool of blood. A collective gasp echoed throughout the crowd. They had scarcely comprehended how it had happened. The Lei Jiao Shi Tianjiao had lost, and in such a devastating manner. Did Nan Gonghao employ the power of another path amidst the flashes of lightning? Otherwise, how could a 7-star saint-level Lei Jiao Shi Tianjiao suffer such a catastrophic defeat? As doubts lingered among the myriad beings, the Saint King of the Lei Jiao Shi clan approached with a solemn countenance, lifting his own prodigy and casting a cold glance at Nan Gonghao before departing. He did not utter any threats, which was quite evident. Nan Gonghao had triumphed in a fair manner. Moreover, even after inflicting severe injuries upon his adversary, there were no incriminating evidence against him. Amidst the bewilderment of many beings, Nan Gonghao stood upon the martial stage, calmly declaring, "Next." A chorus of astonishment erupted. This individual remained on the stage, awaiting the next challenger. Did he not require time to recover? However, it soon became apparent that Nan Gonghao was enveloped in a torrent of surging spiritual energy, rapidly replenishing the consumption from his previous exertions. She turned to the nearby Tian Jiao of the Yin clan, mocking, "Aren't you going to make a move?" The Yin clan Tian Jiao snorted coldly and was about to act when, from a distance, a figure descended ahead of schedule. The Tian Jiao of the Wuzui Jiao clan. This was a 3-meter-tall Wuzui Jiao, looking down at Nan Gonghao with disdain, coldly asserting, "Come with me. Serve as a slave for life to atone for your sins, and I might spare your life. Spare the pleasantries, come at me." Nan Gonghao responded, adjusting the power of the Dao within him. This clan's Dao was rather inferior compared to that of the Lei Jiaoshi clan. Their only advantage lay in their speed. Of course, they possessed many other abilities and could cultivate other Daos as well. Upon realizing Nan Gonghao's refusal, the Wu Zue Jiao Tian Jiao gritted his teeth. "You seek death, attack." The Wu Zue Jiao unleashed his speed, transforming into a bolt of darkness that surged toward him. However, the manifestation of his speed was unlike anything Nan Gonghao had imagined. It appeared as if he had condensed into a radiant arc, rendering Nan Gonghao unable to lock onto him with his spiritual sense. In combat, practitioners typically relied on spiritual perception to target their opponents, as mere eyesight could not consistently ensure precision. Yet this time, the Wu Zue Jiao had rendered him incapable of establishing that connection, illustrating the true essence of the Speed Dao. The previous Wu Zue Jiao clan's Saint King had been far too weak to comprehend this application. With a sigh of realization, Nan Gonghao summoned the luminous essence of enlightenment. His understanding of the Speed Dao was inferior to that of the Tian Jiao before him. Thus he fortified himself on the stage. Boom! The arc of the Wu Zue Jiao collided with him, rebounding back with considerable damage, causing him to grunt and step back in astonishment. Anger flashed across his face. Enlightenment light? This must be cheating. Many powerful beings nearby displayed expressions of intrigue. The news of Nan Gonghao's enlightenment light had circulated widely, known to many great powers. Yet, they had not anticipated that he would comprehend the Dao on the martial stage. This was an act of disdain toward his adversary. However, they were also aware that there was a time constraint for the match. If one failed to retaliate within a set duration, they would automatically lose. Now, as the Wu Zue Diao Tian Jiao initiated his assault, if Nan Gonghao remained in a state of enlightenment for too long, he would be deemed defeated. The elder of Ying Nu sect glanced at her sect leader, who nodded in agreement. She then proclaimed, "Begin timing. If Nan Gonghao's enlightenment extends too long, he will be declared the loser." The audience erupted in a chorus of boos, not directed at the Ying Nu sect, but rather at Nan Gonghao. After evading the previous rounds, they had finally anticipated a proper duel in the third round, only for him to resort to such tactics. Was he truly fearful? While issuing threats, he chose to evade combat in such a manner. Even those Tian Jiao awaiting their turn exhibited disdain. "I can no longer wait." One Tian Jiao of the Mu Yao clan could not contain himself, exclaiming, "Nan Gonghao is nothing more than a coward, deliberately provoking us for fame. Yet knowing he cannot contend with us, he forces himself into a state of enlightenment to intentionally lose the match and preserve his own skin. Such rubbish is unworthy of my time. You clan Tian Jiao, I challenge you." At the words of the Mu Yao clan Tian Jiao, many others nodded in agreement, finding merit in his assertion. After all, the timing of Nan Gonghao's enlightenment was too coincidental. Moreover, those who typically issued threats were eager to challenge everyone to prove themselves. Who would choose such a moment for enlightenment? The Yu clan Tian Jiao also stepped forward, stating, "Rather than waste time with this hypocrite, Mu Yao clan Tian Jiao, I will battle you." The two formidable Tian Jiao ascended to the distant martial stage to engage in combat. One rooted himself in the arena, summoning countless branches of laws to lash out furiously, while the other conjured a torrential downpour that obscured the sky. The spectacle was far more impressive than the battle on Nan Gonghao's side, drawing the attention of many spectators. The Yin clan Tian Jiao sighed from the stands, "I should not have participated in this tournament. It is a waste of time." Indeed, the Qingshi clan Tian Jiao coldly concurred. Numerous Tian Jiao around them began to stir restlessly, contemplating withdrawing from the competition. They felt it beneath their dignity to compete alongside someone as hypocritical as Nan Gonghao. This only fueled Shiya's anger, for such occurrences had never transpired in previous Ying Nu sect tournaments. Why, since Nan Gonghao's emergence, had such disturbances become frequent? It would be disingenuous for the other Ying Nu sect disciples to claim they bore no grievances, yet they found themselves powerless to act. Meanwhile, the surrounding Tian Jiao, initially unwilling to challenge Nan Gonghao, now held little hope. They descended from the stage to compete, striving for rankings. This not only promised them fame, but also fulfilled their family's expectations, leading to rewards upon their return, if they could stand out or demonstrate potential. Catching the eye of a formidable power, it would be an extraordinary stroke of fortune. Such occurrences were not without precedent. As one Tian Jiao after another departed to compete, the Wu Zhe Diao Tian Jiao coldly regarded Nan Gonghao. "At such a critical moment, you choose enlightenment. I shall see what you can comprehend." Meanwhile, the elder of the Ying Nu sect held an hourglass, the sands of time steadily flowing. Once the sands ran out, Nan Gonghao would be declared defeated and forcibly removed from the martial stage. Some spectators were fixated on the hourglass, watching the time dwindle. With less than a teacup's worth of time remaining, expressions of disdain spread across the faces of many onlookers. How shameless! Was he truly attempting to evade battle in such a manner? Humph! Nan Gonghao awakened. "Even if you lose the match, I will take action against you." There is no escape. From the direction of the Sheng Mo sect, a Tian Jiao rose sharply, rebuking loudly. The crowd gasped. They had forgotten that Nan Gonghao had brazenly provoked the Sheng Mo sect, drawing out this little tyrant. This was a figure once renowned as a manslayer. Barely 15, yet already half a step into the realm of the Saint King, who had once fought fiercely against the ancient Emperor Ling Yun, forcibly absorbing him. Such terrifying exploits had earned this little tyrant the title of invincible in his generation, with no one daring to provoke him. Now, as he openly threatened Nan Gonghao's life, the menace was palpable. At that moment, several figures stood up in unison. "I am here at the behest of others. It seems I must also take action to teach young master Nan Gong a lesson," a dashing young man proclaimed. The crowd inhaled sharply. This was the son of a noble from the Bu Bai dynasty, immensely powerful, and had joined the Jixia Academy, making his name widely recognized. The others standing alongside him were also formidable Tian Jiao, all indicating that even if Nan Gonghao lost the match, they would still take action against him. The atmosphere grew lively. Beings from all walks of life gleefully observed Nan Gonghao, eager to see how he would respond. Just then, the elder of the Ying Nu sect raised her hand, disappointment etched upon her features, and declared, "Time is up. Nan Gonghao has yet to make a move, and thus he is judged to have lost." The gentle voice of Nan Gonghao resonated through the air, drawing the astonished gazes of the crowd. To their surprise, the luminous aura of enlightenment that enveloped him had vanished, indicating his timely awakening. However, instead of eliciting joy, this revelation was met with disdain from the myriad beings present. It was evident that he had heard the threats from the other prodigies and, realizing he could not evade them, had chosen to awaken. The Wu Zue Diao prodigy sneered. "Let me see what skills you have grasped." In the distance, an elder from the Ying Nu sect furrowed her brow and cast a hesitant glance at her sect leader. Upon receiving a nod of approval, she acquiesced. "Proceed, but should you fall back into a state of enlightenment suddenly, you will be deemed defeated." Nan Gonghao nodded in acknowledgement and transformed into a streak of light, hurtling towards the Wu Zue Diao prodigy. The onlookers remained unfazed. Yet the Wu Zue Diao prodigy was struck with an expression of sheer astonishment. How could this be possible? Chapter 206. Let us all engage. I challenge you all. Nan Gonghao surged forward, deftly evading the Wu Zue Diao prodigy's mental lock, and collided forcefully. The Wu Zue Diao prodigy hastily dodged, turning into a radiant arc. The onlookers awaited a cataclysmic clash between the two, yet all they witnessed were two beams of light entwined in a dazzling display, never colliding. Their anticipation waned, but many powerful figures began to discern the truth. The two crimson lights were not merely avoiding collision. One was fleeing while the other pursued. With Nan Gonghao in the role of the hunter, if he had employed any other form of Dao power, it would have been comprehensible. Yet, he used the very essence of the Wu Zue Jiao clan's mastery, the Dao of speed. Suddenly, Nan Gonghao split into two radiant forms, launching a coordinated assault on the Wu Zue Diao prodigy. "This is impossible." The Wu Zue Diao prodigy exclaimed in utter disbelief, his previous confidence shattered. Nan Gonghao then split into three, followed by four, and then 5 beams of light, effectively trapping the Wu Zue Diao prodigy within a shimmering prison of light that constricted violently. A thunderous impact resonated, fulfilling the crowd's long-held anticipation. Blood and feathers scattered, and a figure crashed onto the arena floor. It was the Wu Zue Diao prodigy. "This cannot be," he gasped in disbelief. "The transformation into light is a secret art of my clan, and splitting into 7 is an even deeper mystery. How could you master it? Did you think I was merely in a state of enlightenment earlier?" Nan Gonghao replied nonchalantly. At these words, the Wu Zue Diao prodigy felt his blood surge with rage, growling. "But you only saw me use it once." "That is sufficient," Nan Gonghao declared, stepping forward to kick the Wu Zue Diao prodigy off the arena. The spectators exchanged bewildered glances. What did this mean? Could it be that Nan Gonghao could flawlessly replicate another's Dao power and techniques after witnessing them only once? Such a monstrous talent seemed preposterous. Nevertheless, the deriding voices against Nan Gonghao had diminished significantly. He turned his cold gaze towards the distant stands and proclaimed, "Next." The Yin clan prodigy cast a sidelong glance at the mocking Shiya, contemplating his own descent into the arena. However, before he could act, another figure leaped ahead of him, the Qing Shi clan prodigy. "You remnants of the Dong Huang domain, I shall challenge you," he bellowed, charging forth with ferocious speed, raising a massive paw that expanded ominously, enveloping the sky and bearing down with immense force. This technique, a synthesis of the sharp order, the heavy order, and the wind order, was formidable. Nan Gonghao scoffed and retaliated with a punch, employing the same orders. The impact sent the Qing Shi's claw recoiling. The Qing Shi prodigy, undeterred, chose to unleash his Dao power directly, opening his mouth to unleash a tremendous gravitational force intended to draw Nan Gonghao into his maw. This was the Dao of devouring, distinct from the Dao of consumption. The former merely swallowed, unable to refine immediately, while the latter directly assimilated and transformed the opponent's essence. In the absence of the Dao of consumption, the Qing Shi's Dao of devouring was still incredibly formidable. As the Qing Shi opened wide, Nan Gonghao mirrored the action. Standing before the towering Qing Shi, he resembled an elephant confronting a chick. The scene was somewhat ludicrous, yet no one dared to laugh, for the Qing Shi prodigy. This metaphorical giant exhibited no resistance. The Dao of devouring, seemingly his innate technique, paled in comparison to Nan Gonghao's prowess. "Impossible," the Qing Shi prodigy protested. Resorting to his second Dao, the Dao of sound, with a powerful roar, he unleashed a sonic wave that kicked up sand and debris, threatening to shatter the very fabric of the world. Observers on the distant stands recognized the ruse. The Qingshi prodigy had feigned weakness with the Tao of Devouring to set up a surprise attack with the Tao of Sound. They marveled at his tactical acumen, realizing he was indeed a formidable opponent deserving of utmost caution in future encounters. Yet, as they contemplated this, Nan Gonghao bellowed, "Om." One of the 6 syllables of the Buddhist mantra. It was not merely a sound wave attack, but imbued with unparalleled compassion capable of subduing all. A blinding white light materialized, coalescing into a massive Om, which struck down upon the Qingshi prodigy. The Qingshi prodigy was sent flying, blood spewing forth as he crashed down from the arena. He had lost. The outcome was a stark contrast to the earlier skirmishes, showcasing Nan Gonghao's mastery without resorting to any other Tao. He exhibited a profound understanding of the Tao power, revealing that he was indeed a mere 5-star saint, yet seemingly more adept at wielding Tao power than even the Saint Kings themselves. This revelation prompted the onlookers to abandon their disdain and skepticism, their expressions shifting to solemnity. Those participating in the contest grew anxious, deliberating whether to avoid Nan Gonghao. Some are already selecting their opponents. Qin Shuiyao and her sister Qin Yin'er, following Nan Gonghao's instructions, positioned themselves at the rear of the line, seeking a discreet corner. Yet, they soon found themselves targeted. A lewdly grinning prodigy from the Bai Mao Shu clan pointed at Qin Shuiyao, exclaiming, "I shall challenge you. I shall challenge you all." Nan Gonghao's indifferent voice echoed throughout the arena, silencing the Bai Mao Shu prodigy mid-sentence. He turned in disbelief, realizing that everyone shared his astonishment. The numerous contestants wondered if they had misheard or if Nan Gonghao's words were unclear. Yet, as all eyes turned towards the arena, Nan Gonghao reiterated, "Do not be surprised. I indeed wish to challenge you all. Defeating each of you one by one would be cumbersome. Thus, let us face off together, allowing me to unleash all my Tao powers without reservation." This proclamation sent shockwaves through the crowd. There was truly no limit to arrogance. Not only did the onlooking prodigies gasp in disbelief, but even many long-established Saint Kings shook their heads in disbelief. Nan Gonghao was challenging all the prodigies present. If he had made such a declaration in the first or second round, it might have been acceptable, as those rounds included many mediocre participants. However, by the third round, only the most distinguished prodigies remained, individuals representing the pinnacle of their respective clans' younger generations. Moreover, several prodigies representing immensely powerful factions were also present. Nan Gonghao's declaration encompassed them all. Chapter 207. Do you dare strike? Upon hearing Nan Gonghao's challenge to all participants, the young tyrant of the Sheng Mo sect slowly rose from his seat. Towering in stature, he was enveloped in a blood-red aura, exuding an overwhelming malevolence. Although the crowd could not discern his features, it was evident that he was glaring at Nan Gonghao, visibly enraged. In the distance, a noble scion from the unyielding dynasty also stood with an unfriendly expression. "Young Master Nan Gong, I am aware of your formidable combat prowess, but we are not to be underestimated. You should reconsider your challenge." The 2 individuals beside him, however, were less tactful. "No need for further discussion. The princess has offered a reward, and I intend to take action sooner or later, so why not seize the moment?" "I concur." As these individuals expressed their intentions, the other participants finally reacted. "This is too arrogant. I can no longer hold back. I must confront him. Let's all go together. No need to be polite." "Polite? He is courting death. Who could be blamed? I have long wished to test his abilities. Now is the perfect opportunity." A cacophony of voices erupted, filled with indignation and even curses. The young prodigy from a Yin clan sneered at Xia. "It seems it is finally my turn to take the stage. But he appears to have challenged everyone. You wouldn't dare withdraw, would you?" Xia and the other disciples of the Ying Nu sect were torn. Nan Gonghao had indeed issued a challenge to all, and logically, they should respond. Yet, the sect leader had instructed them not to confront Nan Gonghao. It was a dilemma. Observing that despite the fervor of the crowd, few dared to descend, Nan Gonghao pondered for a moment. He then turned to the sect leader and calmly stated, "If I should die or be injured in this bout, I willingly forfeit all compensation." The sect leader of the Ying Nu sect remained silent for a moment before replying, "Very well." Upon hearing this, the other participants revealed their sinister expressions. Their earlier concern was precisely this. If they were too aggressive towards Nan Gonghao, resulting in severe injury or death, how would their families handle the compensation? Now that Nan Gonghao had voluntarily relinquished his right to compensation, They could unleash their full strength without reservation. With a thunderous roar, the young tyrant of the Shang Mo sect was the first to leap onto the arena, his aura pulsating with malevolence, instilling fear in all present. Seeing him take the stage, the invited participants from the unyielding dynasty, along with the young prodigy of the Yin clan, swiftly followed suit. The young talents of the Wu clan also made their appearance, not just the one-armed contestant, indicating multiple challengers from their lineage. The Li Long clan sent forth their own prodigy, and shockingly, a descendant of the Bai Feng also appeared. Other talented individuals gradually ascended the stage, even those who initially believed themselves lacking an opportunity. After all, amidst the impending chaos, who knew what fortunes might be seized? Even if they gained nothing, merely participating in such a battle could elevate their reputations. Soon, all participants had gathered on the stage, leaving only Shi Ye and the disciples of the Ying new sect behind. The Qin sisters, Qin Shuiyao and Qin Yin'er, naturally did not join. Sect leader, Shi implored with her eyes, seeking permission from the Ying new sect leader. The other disciples were also eager to join. The onlookers in the crowd displayed expressions of curiosity. At that moment, the sect leader of the Ying new sect sighed. Go ahead. Experiencing a battle of this magnitude will greatly benefit your future. Yes, Xia exclaimed with excitement, leading her fellow disciples onto the stage. At that moment, only Qin Shuiyao and Qin Yin'er remained in the stands, hand in hand, tears glistening in their eyes as they gazed at the encircled Nan Gonghao. They yearned to rush to his aid, truly desiring to help him. However, Nan Gonghao had declared his wish to test his limits. They would wait until they sensed he could no longer fend for himself before intervening. The sisters could only suppress their anguish and wait, knowing how proud Nan Gonghao was. If they rushed to assist him now, it would only displease him. Meanwhile, Nan Gonghao, trapped in the encirclement, surveyed his surroundings. Those who dared approach him were undoubtedly the finest young prodigies present. Some may not possess high realms, or may be youthful, yet they were undeniably formidable warriors. To put it plainly, those who stood closest to him were the most likely candidates for eventual imperial ascendance. Typically, even many sage kings would tread carefully when facing any of these prodigies. However, Nan Gonghao merely smiled faintly as he gazed around. Do not hesitate. Since you have all come together, why feign humility? Remember this. The one who seeks to slay you is Lai Tu. The young tyrant of the Shang Mo sect roared and charged forward, having summoned an ancient deity, a being with 3 heads and 6 arms, awash in fury. At that moment, 6 fists descended upon him, bringing with them a terrifying pressure. Nan Gonghao simultaneously summoned the power of the Great Tao, manipulating gravity to control the very fabric of the universe, and struck back with immense force, infused with the power of reversal. Lai Tu sensed the overwhelming strength, but remained unfazed, activating his own avenues of power, stabilizing the Great Tao, as steadfast as a mountain, as solid as a peak. No matter the winds from all directions, I shall remain unmoved. With a thunderous clash, their fists collided, and both warriors recoiled. Just then, a blue figure surged forward, Gong Sun Hong of the unyielding dynasty. He came bearing the might of the power of force, unmatched in its potency. After all, a single force can shatter myriad laws. Nan Gonghao's body shimmered with starlight, a terrifying dragon's roar resonating as waves of world-shaking power enveloped him, and he retaliated with a punch of his own. The two exchanged blows, their might colliding without yielding to one another. Then, another figure floated in, the young prodigy of the Yin clan, raging true fire. A trace of disdain flickered across Nan Gonghao's face. I am engaged in battle with formidable opponents. Mere insects should watch from the sidelines. The power of reversal erupted, sending the raging true fire back towards the young prodigy of the Yin clan, compounded by the force of gravity. The young prodigy's expression shifted in shock and humiliation. He had not anticipated being deemed unworthy of attacking Nan Gonghao. Rending the Great Tao, the young prodigy of the Yin clan bellowed, launching a furious assault with both of his avenues. Behind Nan Gonghao, a colossal clock appeared, its hands spinning, unleashing a torrent of temporal power upon the young prodigy of the Yin clan. The young prodigy's life force began to dwindle at an alarming rate, instilling dread within him. He attempted to resist, but the clock's hands had already spun 3 times. He aged drastically, his vitality waning. Simultaneously, the collision between Nan Gonghao and Gong Sun Hong reached its climax, resulting in a surge of residual energy that instantly obliterated the young prodigy of the Yin clan. From a distance, the envoy of the Yin clan erupted in fury. Preposterous. Yet, Nan Gonghao's expression remained icy. I invited all of you to the stage. It is your honor. You should be retreating to the sidelines and laughing in secret. Yet you dare to strike at me? Then be gone. The multitude of prodigies exhibited expressions of indignation. One moment they were invited to the stage, and the next they were ordered to leave. To hear that they were unworthy of battle was a blatant affront. Their anger surged, and they were poised to retort. However, Nan Gonghao did not grant them the opportunity, for when he commanded them to leave, he intended to force them down. Chapter 208. Surrounded and battling all comers, a colossal clock emerged behind Nan Gonghao. The resounding chime reverberated as waves of temporal power surged forth. Instantly, cries of agony echoed as the prodigies were caught in its influence and fled in terror. Those who exited the arena were deemed to have forfeited. The prodigies exhibited expressions of embarrassment and rage. They had intended to capitalize on their numbers, perhaps gaining an advantage. But they never anticipated being frightened off before even engaging in combat. They gained nothing, suffering a loss of face. However, a dense throng remained on the stage. Dark voids appeared in the sky, continuously swallowing and spitting forth spatial storms. That terrifying force distorted the very heavens and earth, exerting unparalleled pressure on the remaining prodigies. Nearly half of them fled, succumbing to fear and retreating swiftly. However, numerous prodigies persisted, steadfastly enduring this wave of assault. They harbored doubts about whether Nan Gonghao could still exert any power once he fell into the encirclement. With an expression of indifference, Nan Gonghao summoned the forces of the night, a manifestation of the dark path mastered by Qin Shui Yao after consuming a special elixir. Instantly, the arena was engulfed in an abyss of darkness. Everyone's mental perception faltered, including that of the elite prodigies. Immediately, all were compelled to fortify their defenses. Yet, chilling cries echoed from the arena, as those prodigies who had stubbornly remained were once again struck down in droves. It soon became apparent that only about 20 prodigies remained on the stage, but the pervasive darkness obscured the situation, rendering it impossible for all but the most powerful to discern the events unfolding. This left many spectators in a state of extreme frustration. Just as the long-anticipated battle was set to commence, darkness obstructed their view. At that moment, a crimson light pierced through the shadows, exuding an aura of malevolence. Clearly, it was the little tyrant from a Shang Mo sect. Following that, a cerulean light surged skyward, marking the arrival of Gongsun Hong, the son of a noble house. These two individuals were evidently the strongest, breaking through the darkness in the first instant. Shortly thereafter, Xia unleashed her formidable sword energy, a breathtaking display of power. The others followed suit, but at a slightly slower pace. Then, the red malevolence surged towards a particular point, evidently seeking out Nan Gonghao. Several other beams of light followed suit. A resonating hum echoed as the beams converged, unleashing a wave of energy that sent shivers down the spines of the distant spectators. A crackling sound emerged, and before anyone could react, the darkness shattered piece by piece, revealing the figures of the combatants. Nan Gonghao had faced an onslaught yet emerged unscathed. Observers noted that he seemed to have intentionally withdrawn the dark path, perhaps to conserve his strength. Suddenly, Nan Gonghao moved, executing a spatial shift to appear behind Xia. Startled, she reacted with indignation. Bound by her sex restrictions, she had previously sought to challenge Nan Gonghao, but had been unable to strike. In a display of impudence, he had chosen to attack her first. Did he truly believe her to be the weakest? Gritting her teeth, Xia unleashed a torrent of sword lights directed at Nan Gonghao. He, however, waved his hand, opening a rift in space and exchanging positions with a distant prodigy with crimson hair. The latter, caught off guard, was sent flying despite his hurried attempt to resist. In the next moment, Nan Gonghao appeared behind him, unleashing a lethal strike. The crimson-haired prodigy's expression shifted dramatically as he desperately summoned the power of the path, forming a pair of wings to escape at high speed. Unfortunately, his swiftness was woefully inadequate before Nan Gonghao. A thunderous boom resounded as a bolt struck the crimson-haired prodigy, causing him to grunt in pain and interrupt his incantation. Subsequently, Nan Gonghao coalesced a spear of sacred light, aiming to pierce through the crimson-haired prodigy. Just then, two other prodigies rushed to assist. The path of fire and the path of wind erupted simultaneously. The flames rode the winds, igniting the sky. The raging inferno swiftly engulfed Nan Gonghao, but miraculously, it halted just beside the crimson-haired prodigy. Yet they had forgotten that Nan Gong Hao possessed the path of space. He deliberately flew into the sea of flames, swapping positions with the crimson-haired prodigy and adding fuel to the fire. The latter cried out in anguish, severely wounded. The duo of fire and wind hastily retreated. Hardly had they departed when 3 long spears shot forth, piercing through the bodies of the 3 prodigies. They let out muffled groans and quickly fled, leaping off the combat platform, unable to endure any longer. At that moment, the little tyrant Lai Tu charged forward, emanating a surge of demonic energy as his claws reached for Nan Gong Hao. A solid force of the path flickered around Nan Gong Hao, yet it was instantly torn apart, with the demonic energy continuing to surge toward him. Given that even the power of the path could be shredded, it was evident that the deity summoned by Lai Tu was formidable. Nan Gong Hao retreated swiftly. Gong Sun Hong had already arrived, his right fist imbued with the power of the path, striking towards Nan Gong Hao's back, intertwined with a freezing force capable of immobilizing anything. However, despite their ferocious assault, none had employed their utmost path. After all, mastering supreme paths such as time, space, or devouring was a feat only someone as extraordinarily fortunate as Nan Gong Hao could achieve. For other prodigies, even those hailing from the mightiest factions, it was an arduous task. The term supreme implied that it was something desired yet unattainable. At this juncture, with 2 powerful adversaries attacking simultaneously, Nan Gong Hao employed the path of space, incessantly leaping and dodging. She has summoned her flying sword, merging with a nearby prodigy from the sword sect, unleashing a tempest of sword energy that soared hundreds of feet. The other prodigies did not remain idle. The paths of the 5 elements, the path of slaughter, the path of destruction, the path of rending. At least 30 different paths converged in a fierce assault. Nan Gong Hao transformed into light, then detonated, scattering into countless motes of brilliance, seeking to disperse and evade. Confinement. A prodigy from the Li Long sect charged forward, forcibly binding the motes of light Nan Gong Hao had become. The path of confinement could restrain all. Thereafter, Bai Fong soared into the sky, unleashing golden flames that coalesced into a blazing sun hurtling towards Nan Gong Hao. That sun could incinerate the light Nan Gong Hao had transformed into. The spectators watched with grave expressions. Logically, Nan Gong Hao was doomed. With over 20 prodigies attacking simultaneously, coupled with the unparalleled young sovereigns joining forces, even the most esteemed disciple from a supreme faction would likely falter. Boom! The combined forces descended, obliterating the light that Nan Gong Hao had become in an instant. Was it over? Many spectators exhibited expressions of doubt, although such an outcome seemed inevitable. The issue remained that Nan Gong Hao was not someone who could be judged by common reasoning. In a flash, Lai Tu and Gong Sun Hong retreated simultaneously, sensing something amiss. Xia and several other heirs from supreme factions also swiftly withdrew. Just as they vacated the center of the arena, Nan Gong Hao abruptly appeared above them. The space collapsed. Nan Gong Hao ruthlessly activated the path of space, transforming the 3-dimensional realm into a 2-dimensional plane. Accompanied by a chorus of agonizing screams, several prodigies were instantaneously rendered into mere images, blood splattered, creating a tragically beautiful tableau. However, Bai Fong, Li Long, and several other formidable prodigies managed to evade in time. Though they could not escape too far, Nan Gong Hao materialized behind Bai Fong, driving his sacred light spear downward with ferocity. Chapter 209. Collective Assault. Failure leads to death. Bai Fong, in terror, let out a howl, summoning a torrent of flames as he frantically flapped his wings to escape. Yet the searing flames had no effect on Nan Gong Hao. After all, the power of the path he had once acquired from the Yin clan was formidable. Roar! Li Long roared, his dragon claws slicing through the howling winds towards Nan Gong Hao in an attempt to rescue his comrade. Although she harbored no fondness for Bai Fong, he was still her ally in the present circumstance. She had to provide assistance. Her sword cut through the air, tracing an enigmatic arc, resembling a crescent moon as it aimed at Nan Gong Hao. The half-moon slash. Nan Gong Hao disregarded the claw strike from Li Long, but was forced back by this attack. Bai Fong narrowly escaped a calamity, breathing a sigh of relief, and roared in fury. Damn the Yin clan. How dare they grant him the power of the Yin path? From a distance, the Yin clan's expression soured. They had no desire to bestow their legacy upon Nan Gong Hao. Though he retreated under the onslaught, none dared underestimate him. After all, he had just annihilated several prodigies. The remaining combatants now included the little tyrant Lai Tu, Gong Sun Hong, the Wu clan prodigy, the Li Long prodigy by Fang, Xia, and a disciple from the sword sect. Nearly 1,000 individuals surged onto the arena, intent on jointly besieging Nan Gonghao. Ultimately, all that remained were the wounded and fleeing. Surprisingly, only 7 individuals remain. The multitude of onlookers has finally witnessed the formidable and extraordinary prowess of Nangahao. Li Yetu hovered in midair, indifferently observing Nangahao, declaring that the true battle has only just begun at this very moment. I concur with this sentiment. Nangahao exuded an overwhelming and unparalleled force. The other beings, equally resolute, ignited with fierce combat intent. Meanwhile, the earlier eliminated prodigies felt a wave of embarrassment upon hearing these words. They had departed, only for the real battle to commence. Was this not a blatant indication that their prior presence had been a hindrance? Though displeased, they understood that had they not exited in time, the residual energies from the earlier clash could have easily claimed their lives. At this instant, the astonishing fluctuations unleashed rendered all participating prodigies acutely self-conscious. Boom! Li Yetu transformed into a streak of black light, hurtling toward Nangahao, who simultaneously unleashed 7 kinds of Dao power. Nangahao's form morphed into light as he extended his hand, invoking the Shangsangji Shou, Hand of the Heavenly. A colossal hand of light descended from the heavens, resembling the palm of a creator, radiating an irresistible aura of authority that startled Li Yetu, prompting him to alter his attack direction. Destruction. The two forces collided, instantly obliterating one another. Gong Sunhong rushed over, pointing his hand, summoning a magnificent lotus flower that rapidly closed in, enveloping Nangahao in a frenzy of refinement. The power of the flower Dao was fearsome indeed. Alas, Nangahao flickered and vanished from his original position, reappearing behind Gong Sunhong. Upon witnessing this, Gong Sunhong's typically calm and charismatic visage flashed with brutality. The space Dao was indeed detestable. Slap! Nangahao's fist struck Gong Sunhong with devastating force, transforming him into a flurry of petals that scattered across the sky. The scene was exquisitely beautiful, yet fraught with lethal intent, as countless petals exuded a peculiar fragrance that ensnared Nangahao. Without requiring his inhalation, the scent infiltrated his body, corroding his very soul. Nangahao activated the Wind Dao, summoning howling gales to barely ward off the intoxicating aroma. Meanwhile, Xia had allied with disciples of the sword sect, their twin swords merging into a formidable assault. Nangahao flickered once more, appearing at a distance, only to discover that these 2 swords could track him relentlessly. No matter how he employed the space Dao to evade, it proved futile. Resolutely, he charged forward, his fists imbued with the power of ice, preparing to strike. At that moment, Bifeng and Li Long approached from either side, launching a frenzied onslaught. The prodigy of the Witch Clan roared, forcefully grasping the air with both hands directed at Nangahao. Nangahao felt the space around him solidify, followed by an oppressive force that bore down upon him. He relinquished his defense as the bell behind him descended, 3 needles spinning in unison, returning everything to its original state. The attacks of the 7 prodigies were forcibly retracted, revealing a gap through which Nangahao could escape. Observing this, the 7 prodigies gritted their teeth in frustration. The Time Dao and Space Dao were exceedingly enigmatic, without a means to counter them. They could not capture or even strike Nangahao. Yet, to inflict harm upon them was as easy as pie for Nangahao. Buzz! A black hole materialized beneath the feet of the group, emanating an ominous pull, threatening to draw them into the void. They all ascended into the air, striving to evade the black hole's grasp. Suddenly, gravitational forces intensified. These individuals felt as though they bore the weight of a mountain, unbearably heavy. Ultimately, Li Yetu, being immensely powerful, infused his hands with demonic energy and forcefully tore through the intangible gravitational Dao, advancing toward Nangahao. Gong Sunhong released a green light, and a multitude of petals took root atop the black hole, rapidly transforming into a towering tree that obstructed it. Li Long employed his binding power to seal the black hole. The others devised their own strategies, and, collectively, they managed to extricate themselves. Li Yetu unleashed a punch upon Nangahao, only to witness him morph into light once more, exuding a force of tremors. All the light fragments were shattered, reverting to nothingness. A clone, Li Yetu bellowed in rage. The crowd gasped in astonishment. If there was a clone, it implied that the true body resided elsewhere. Suddenly, Bifeng let out a blood-curdling scream. The others turned to see a spear embedded in Bifeng's body. He could transmit attacks directly into the bodies of his foes. Wounded and bleeding, Bifong nonetheless revealed Nango Hao's method of assault. The others were horrified. How were they to proceed? In the next moment, they sensed an unusual movement within their bodies, as if someone sought to open a door within them. This was dire. Each of them exerted their utmost effort to suppress their own bodies. The sword sect prodigy uttered, "My body is the sword." With a resonant clang, a surge of sword intent erupted skyward, enabling this disciple to initially resist the encroaching power. However, it was too late. Nango Hao appeared behind him, the force of time crashing forth. The sword sect disciple screamed in agony as his lifespan dwindled rapidly. "No!" he cried, spinning around to swing his sword, only to discover that his once pristine blade had become riddled with rust and utterly destroyed. He could not unleash that strike, and his vitality had waned to its nadir. "I concede," the sword sect disciple exclaimed in horror. Nango Hao delivered a kick that sent him tumbling from the arena, barely preserving his life. At that moment, the prodigy from the Witch clan charged forward, growling, "Twist! I shall join in." Liet too was infuriated. He had initially believed he could easily suppress Nango Hao, but now realized that despite their combined assault, they could not prevail. He unleashed his full power, summoning nearly 10 types of Dao to strike down, including 2 particularly formidable Dao forces. Gong Sun Hong's eyes flickered. After a moment's hesitation, he too advanced. 1,000 blossoms in chaos. Xia frowned, gritting her teeth. Half moon slash. This time, all of them joined forces in a concerted attack. They unleashed their full might, creating unstable rifts in the very fabric of space. If they did not succeed, they would perish. Chapter 210. 5 Forbidden Artifacts? Who doesn't possess them? Nango Hao observed the approaching onslaught. As a tempest of spatial energy erupted around him, the power of time surging forth. Though the others faced rapid declines in lifespan, they were not without means of replenishment. The paramount objective was to unite and eliminate Nango Hao. Otherwise, they would become the laughingstock of Zhongzhou and invite inner demons. Buzz. The sky warped with spatial distortions. This was not a divine technique, but rather a testament to the martial arena's inability to withstand the might of the assembled prodigies. The collaboration of these prodigies finally threatened to shatter the very space itself, should they continue to collide in this manner. The arena would be engulfed in spatial storms and debris for an extended period, rendering it unusable. Despite this, the disciples of the English women's sect refrained from intervening. Other factions remained uninvolved as well, all eyes fixated on Nango Hao, eager to discern his defensive strategies. Even the 7 most potent forces observing the battle were brimming with anticipation, poised for action. Nango Hao faced this seemingly inevitable demise and was bound to summon the primordial Azure Lotus. Once the primordial Azure Lotus appeared, they would inevitably vie for it. Even the leader of the English women's sect exuded a vast power. While others sought to seize it, she too was unwilling to relinquish her claim. At most, she would compensate Nango Hao later. The audience in the stands felt the surging aura of the 7 formidable entities, astonished. Were they truly turning against Nango Hao? This was terrifying. It seemed Nango Hao was destined for death. Even Princess Ma Ning frowned, puzzled by the fervent reactions of the powerful figures. It was because Nango Hao possessed something they coveted. Yet, Nango Hao was destined to triumph. No wonder the king of Mount Zhun insisted on his participation in that affair. A look of admiration flashed across the face of the girl in the white dress. Princess Ma Ning remained perplexed. It was her first time witnessing the girl in white express such admiration for another. It must be noted that this individual beside us has emerged from ancient lands and is, in fact, the daughter of a great emperor. The emergence of a quasi-emperor can significantly elevate a family's bloodline, greatly enhancing the likelihood of future generations awakening their inherent abilities. And what of the emperor? He possesses the power to forge an immortal force, enduring for countless millennia. As the offspring of an emperor, the inherited bloodline and strength are undoubtedly formidable. This is truly a veritable young emperor. The honor bestowed upon Nango Hao by such a person is unparalleled. However, Princess Mo Ning suddenly wore a grim expression. She sensed that her hopes for revenge might be futile. Nevertheless, she decided to observe Nango Hao first. At this moment, on the martial stage, the attacks from several individuals converged with tremendous force. Nango Hao summoned the power of time, only to be suppressed by Lai Tu's forbidden device. Although Gong Sun Hong felt humiliated, he too utilized a forbidden device to restrain Nango Hao's spatial pathway. Aside from Xia, The others also employed forbidden devices to suppress Ningonghao's other avenues of power. In an instant, the arena transformed into a contest of forbidden devices. It was as if they were bullying Nangonghao for being unable to produce a forbidden device. Boom! The violent force instantaneously engulfed Nangonghao. Deprived of the ability to wield his pathways, he was naturally obliterated in an instant. As they witnessed Nangonghao being reduced to nothingness, the others were left dumbfounded. What was happening? Was he truly dead? This time, they observed clearly. This was not an illusion, but genuine annihilation. Blood splattered and flesh shattered. Only those adept in the pathway of rebirth could hope to revive. Yet, Nangonghao could not possibly master the pathway of rebirth, as it belonged solely to the Phoenix Clan. Furthermore, the Phoenix Clan had never emerged nor engaged in battle with Nangonghao. Even the 7 supreme envoys were filled with uncertainty. Did Nangonghao refuse to utilize the Chaos Green Lotus? No, something was amiss. Defense. Lai Tu bellowed, exerting all his strength to shield himself. He was not at ease. Thus he needed to wait until the elder of the Ying-Nu sect declared his victory before he dared to confirm Nangonghao's demise. The others were equally vigilant, fully prepared, even suspending their forbidden devices above them. They could not afford to care about being accused of cheating. After all, they had already used them, and their possession of such devices was a testament to their own prowess. If they had the ability, let Nangonghao use one too. Just then, a disturbance rippled through the void. Everyone gasped. Indeed, Nangonghao was not dead. However, they could not comprehend how he had revived. The next moment, a familiar power manifested above them. It was a forbidden device. The forbidden device of the Sheng Mo sect, the divine Demon Jadebone. This was impossible. Lai Tu roared in anger, for his own forbidden device was firmly in his grasp. Yet, the one suspended in midair was undeniably identical. Even the fluctuations of power were indistinguishable. Soon, another forbidden device appeared above them. This time, it was the one brought by Gong Sun Hong. The expressions of those on the martial stage were filled with confusion. Was this an illusion? A disciple of the sword sect snorted coldly, his sword aura surging. Those who cultivate the sword possess the most resolute will. At that moment, he summoned his sword intent, attempting to shatter the illusion, yet to no avail. For there was no illusion here to manipulate the minds of men. This meant that all these forbidden devices were indeed real. With this realization, they all displayed expressions of horror. But even more astonishing was what followed. 5 forbidden devices descended from the sky, identical to the ones held by the individuals below. Only Xia's forbidden device remained absent, for she had not used one. Fall! The voice of Nangonghao resonated through the air. The 5 forbidden devices, imbued with unparalleled ferocity, plummeted down. Upon seeing this, Xia made a swift decision and directly fled from the confines of the martial stage. She conceded, for these forbidden devices were terrifying beyond measure. Should they collide, even the super strong seated in the stands would need to flee. Gong Sun Hong reacted swiftly, retracting his forbidden device and transforming into a streak of light as he departed. Lai Tu was indignant, but unwilling to risk everything, quickly vacating the scene. With 3 individuals having fled in succession, the remaining members of the Wu clan and Li Long naturally ceased their resistance. The few outstanding talents on the stage, all frightened, fled from the martial arena. The multitude of onlookers in the stands erupted into an uproar upon witnessing this scene. They had not anticipated such an outcome. Nangonghao had turned a seemingly fatal situation around, achieving victory in this unfathomable manner. No one understood how he had summoned 5 forbidden devices. At this moment, the forbidden devices that were poised to explode on the martial stage came to an abrupt halt. Nangonghao emerged from the void, his expression tranquil. Have you all conceded? Seeing him unscathed, not even a scratch upon him, the crowd was filled with incredulity and anger. What was happening? What pathway did you employ? Lai Tu was unwilling to accept this. He had represented the Sheng Mo sect to eliminate Nangonghao, and having just issued a fierce declaration to eradicate him. To lose so miserably was naturally unacceptable. The others also fixed their gazes upon Nangonghao, eager to uncover how he had achieved this. Nangonghao cast a disdainful glance at the crowd, saying dismissively, "Do you truly believe yourselves worthy to inquire of me?" Upon hearing this, Lai Tu and the others were filled with utmost fury. Nangonghao's arrogance was intolerable. He had openly displayed such contempt towards them. Yet even Lai Tu, despite his boiling rage, could only grit his teeth and endure. What could be done? After all, he had indeed won, and won fairly. They had not managed to strike him even once with their forbidden devices, and yet they had the audacity to speak. No one knew how Nan Gonghao had conjured those 5 forbidden devices. Some speculated that it was an illusion pathway at play. After all, there had been supreme beings who had once decimated an entire celestial domain using the illusion pathway. Fabricating a forbidden device was hardly remarkable. Others suspected it was a mirror pathway, capable of reflecting the attacks and treasures of enemies, albeit lacking significant offensive power. Some even conjectured it was a deception pathway, capable of misleading the heavens and crossing the seas. Yet, despite the myriad of speculations, no one ventured to consider the possibility of a replication pathway. For no other reason than it seemed impossible. A replication pathway was exceedingly terrifying and enigmatic, reputed to replicate all things. Nan Gonghao had already mastered several supreme pathways. How could he also possess this one? They were unwilling to believe. Nevertheless, regardless of the conjectures, Nan Gonghao had subdued all the proud participants in the martial contest. Now, the only ones remaining were a few distant talents still engaged in battle. I do not care who among you wins or loses. In a moment, concede directly from the stage, or do not blame me for being impolite. Nan Gonghao brazenly threatened the remaining talents. The expressions of these individuals were awkward, yet they had no choice but to grit their teeth and finish the battle before them, only to collectively concede. There was no other option. Had they not seen the Sheng Mo sect's talents being routed? They were merely a first-rate force, utterly incapable of challenging Nan Gonghao. At this juncture, the only remaining contestants were Nan Gonghao and the sisters Qin Shuiyao. The members of the Ying Nu sect observed this with peculiar expressions, for they had vaguely deduced why Nan Gonghao had chosen to battle fiercely against the masses. Yet none dared to voice their suspicions, for if their conjectures were indeed accurate, it would be utterly terrifying and profoundly moving. However, the other outsiders were oblivious, all casting their gazes towards the Qin sisters. They did not understand what abilities these sisters possessed that allowed them to stand firm under Nan Gonghao's threat without conceding. Did they intend to take the stage? Under the watchful eyes of the multitude, Nan Gonghao smiled. I concede. The arena erupted in astonishment. Everyone stared at Nan Gonghao in shock, utterly bewildered by his actions. He has fallen for it. This fellow, having battled against numerous talents, must be utterly exhausted. He was merely intimidating us. The last talent to jump off the martial stage in defeat pounded his thigh in frustration. Others also displayed hesitation. Is it truly so? Nan Gonghao sneered, an overwhelming aura of menace emanating from him. Do these mere individuals really believe they can force me into a corner? The previously arrogant Tianjiao turned pale in an instant, as he sensed that Nan Gonghao seemed to have suffered little fatigue. The expressions of Lai Tu and his companions also darkened. This was a blatant slap in the face. They fought desperately, and even in defeat, they had not inflicted a single injury upon him. The elder of the English female sect, responsible for presiding over the martial arts competition, gazed at Nan Gonghao with a mixture of admiration and astonishment. Are you certain you wish to concede? After a moment's thought, Nan Gonghao added, Very well, let Shui Yao take first place. Agreed, the elder nodded slightly. A sense of unease washed over the crowd. Why did it seem that Nan Gonghao was acquainted with these two female disciples? Qin Shuiyao and Qin Yaner, however, were too preoccupied with their concern for Nan Gonghao to notice the others' opinions as they rushed onto the martial stage to ascertain his condition. Observing the affectionate interaction among the three, the onlookers quickly understood the nature of their relationship. These three were, in fact, companions of the Tao. When they beheld the abilities of the Qin sisters, realizing they were merely at the initial stage of the Saint realm, their expressions shifted dramatically. They sensed that there was something amiss. Soon, a spectator familiar with the English female sect inquired about the situation. It turned out that the condition set by the sect for Nan Gonghao to marry the two women was for them to secure a place among the top three. Yet, it was evident that their abilities made that impossible. This meant that Nan Gonghao's reckless challenges against all the experts present were actually to clear the path for the two women, assisting them in obtaining a top three position. How audacious! How astonishing! Upon learning the truth, the onlookers could not help but feel a whirlwind of emotions. They had initially assumed Nan Gonghao's challenges stemmed from arrogance, only to discover that it was a protective instinct for his beloved. Yet this revelation only served to amplify his audacity, merely for the sake of two women. He dared to confront so many formidable Tianjiao. The many male spectators questioned their own hearts. They felt they could never act in such a manner, nor would they dare. Meanwhile, the female observers were overwhelmed with excitement. Nan Gonghao was not only handsome and charismatic, but also devoted to his women. He epitomized the ideal Prince Charming of every woman's dreams. In an instant, many women found themselves smitten with Nan Gonghao. Even those from opposing factions felt an inexplicable affection, suffering in silence. Why must they be compelled to oppose such a man? How could they bear to act against him? The crowd buzzed with chatter, filled with myriad emotions. The leader of the English female sect then rose, since the top 3 had been determined. It is time to present the rewards. Furthermore, due to the recent chaos that hindered the ranking of other contestants, we shall rank them according to their realms. If anyone has objections, they may challenge the top 10. Upon hearing this, the spectators exchanged glances. Lai Tu stepped forward, coldly stating, "Is anyone permitted to issue challenges?" The leader of the English female sect frowned, except for the top 3, as their rankings are indisputable. Upon hearing this, many eager participants displayed disappointment. They had hoped to take advantage of the situation by challenging the Qin sisters to secure the top 2 positions through a roundabout strategy. Lai Tu evidently harbored the same intention. At this, upon hearing the leader's denial, many individuals settled back down. Although rewards awaited the top 10, only the top 3 would entice the elite Tianjiao. The other positions held little significance. Nevertheless, the 7 ranks within the top 10 still triggered a flurry of challenges from other participants, resulting in a delay of 10 days before the competition finally concluded. Nan Gonghao had no interest in claiming rewards. He deemed even the 3rd-place prize beneath him. Of course, this was also due to the incessant attention from admirers. He had garnered admiration from countless women for his defiance and protection of his beloved in front of the masses. This engendered a wave of infatuation, as many women believed that since he already had 2 partners, he would not mind a 3rd. Consequently, they persistently pursued him with declarations of affection. With so many admirers, Nan Gonghao found it impossible to refuse them all, nor could he resort to violence. Thus, he chose to hide away. However, while others failed to locate him, Princess Imo Ning arrived with another woman in tow. Princess Imo Ning was already strikingly beautiful, tall, and graceful, with long legs and flowing hair cascading down like a goddess from the heavens. Yet the woman she brought with her was even more alluring, clad in a white dress. Her ethereal charm radiated purity, her eyes resembling the clear blue sky, exuding an aura of innocence. Unfortunately, the power she emanated signified that she posed a significant threat to Nan Gonghao. Chapter 212. The Invitation to the Land of Inheritance. Nan Gonghao. This is my elder sister, Xian Hiyu. Princess Imo Ning introduced her sister to Nan Gonghao. Her face darkened as she gritted her teeth in anger. Clearly, she still harbored resentment over Nan Gonghao's previous actions that had marred her attire, despite her seemingly petulant demeanor. Her stunning beauty made it impossible to harbor any true animosity. Rather, she appeared endearingly amusing. Nan Gonghao, however, paid no heed to Princess Imo Ning and turned his gaze toward Xian Hiyu, stating calmly, "Was it you who asked me to go with her?" "It is the Zhenshan Wang seeking you," Imo Ning's father. Xian Hiyu spoke with a voice as gentle as a spring breeze, her tone pure and serene, making it difficult for anyone to feel dislike or suspicion. Yet Nan Gonghao responded earnestly, "It matters not who seeks me. Let us discuss the matter at hand." Xian Hiyu's clear eyes sparkled with admiration. "Do you know the standing of Zhenshan Wang within the unbeaten dynasty?" Princess Imo Ning, visibly irritated by Nan Gonghao's demeanor, arrogantly retorted, "Humph, you are nothing but a rustic hillbilly. You probably have never heard of my father's great name. I have only heard that when the upper beams are crooked, the lower ones are likewise askew. Someone is ignorant, as you likely has a similarly arrogant father." Nan Gonghao replied nonchalantly. Princess Imo Ning's anger flared. "You scoundrel! How dare you call my father arrogant? No, what gives you the right to judge my father?" Observing Princess Imo Ning's face, now flushed like a ripe apple, Xian Hiyu gently interjected, "Imo Ning, temper yourself." Those words seemed to carry an inexplicable power. Princess Imo Ning's emotions indeed calmed down. Nan Gonghao sensed the formidable Dao power emanating from Xian Hiyu. It was undeniably a supreme force. Yet he felt no fear. Xian Hiyu explained, "Zhenshan Wang is one of the 8 pillars of the unbeaten dynasty, commanding countless powerful beings and renowned throughout the realm. He has sent me to invite you to participate in the inheritance battle." Nan Gonghao expressed confusion. The inheritance battle? Whose inheritance? All inheritances. The invincible Saint King, the Prime Emperor, even the Great Emperor, from both the human race and foreign tribes. Various inheritances available for anyone to seize. Once acquired, they are yours. Xin He chuckled softly. Nan Gonghao's eyes flickered as he recalled the accounts within the myriad books provided by the sage. The Inheritance Battle. This is a secret realm that opens once every 10,000 years, filled with inheritances from ancient and even primordial times. These inheritances stem from the most formidable beings across eras, serving as the foundations of their enlightenment, and are undoubtedly treasures of immense value. Not only ordinary cultivators, but even the strongest forces would covet these treasures. However, what perplexed Nan Gonghao was that he was currently being pursued by forces from the ancient realm, coveted by all formidable beings. Why would Jinshan Wang invite him to partake in the inheritance battle? Did he not fear opposition from the ancient realm? Xin He perceived Nan Gonghao's confusion and flashed a breathtakingly beautiful smile. Do you suppose that among all beings in this world, you alone possess the audacity to defy all? Nan Gonghao gently tapped his forehead, feeling somewhat ashamed. I indeed underestimated the world. Xin He expressed mild surprise. You can admit your mistakes? Princess Mo Ning beside her also harbored doubts. In everyone's eyes, Nan Gonghao was an unruly little tyrant, unreasonable and never bowing down. Nan Gonghao replied nonchalantly, admitting mistakes is not shameful. It is the refusal to acknowledge them, that is. Xin He wholeheartedly agreed, raising her opinion of him. However, Princess Mo Ning snorted, merely posturing. Regarding the battle for inheritance, I lack substantial knowledge. Could you provide me with some information? Nan Gonghao spoke without hesitation. Everyone here looks forward to your cooperation with us. Xin He tossed him a jade slip imbued with information. Holding the jade slip, Nan Gonghao nodded in acknowledgement and then departed. Watching his retreating figure, Princess Mo Ning ground her small tiger teeth, expressing her dissatisfaction. Just wait until this fellow enters the inheritance land with us. I shall teach him a lesson. When did he say he would join us in entering the inheritance land? Sinhai Sopti Inquit. Princess Mo Ning was taken aback. But he has taken our jade slip, hasn't he? Does Ing Zong not possess such things? With his abilities, how could he not procure information about the battle for inheritance? Currently, we are merely establishing a good rapport. Whether we truly collaborate remains uncertain. Xin He shook her head. This only served to further ignite Princess Mo Ning's anger. He better join us. Otherwise, with the ancient lands pursuing him, let us see how he enters the inheritance land. Xin He chose not to elaborate. Meanwhile, Nan Gonghao returned to his dwelling and began to study the information within the jade slip. The battle for inheritance unfolds in the inheritance land, which is, in fact, an ancient battlefield. This vast universe is not limited to the Guangyuan heavenly domain. There are numerous other celestial realms. Some of these realms are bountiful, while others are barren and lifeless. In such circumstances, some individuals, driven by greed, desire more, or out of necessity, resort to plunder. This leads to the strong invading other celestial realms. Where there is invasion, there will be resistance. Unfortunately, the Guangyuan heavenly domain is ensnared amidst 4 surrounding celestial realms. These realms, some prosperous and others desolate, have inexplicably set their sights on the central Guangyuan heavenly domain, having once launched a joint assault. It was an exceptionally arduous war. 5 celestial realms, numerous strong individuals participated. Merely among the quasi-emperors, 6 were involved. Countless sage kings and sages participated as well. The war raged for tens of thousands of years, and countless strong fell, filling the 5 realms with the scent of blood and sorrow. In the end, the Guangyuan heavenly domain astonishingly produced an emperor. The other 4 celestial realms, exhausting their might, ultimately slew the emperor of Guangyuan, yet they paid a grievous price. In desperation, the invading forces sought peace, and the realm, in dire need of recuperation, was coerced into agreeing to the invaders' demands for reconciliation. The war concluded, but the battleground where the 5 celestial realms clashed could not return to tranquility. Too many powerful beings perished there, including an emperor. The corpses and blood left behind on the battlefield possessed immense power, emanating the terrifying great Tao and laws they once commanded in life. Consequently, other beings, upon entering the battlefield, could sense the power left by the fallen and thus grasp their inheritance. That battlefield transformed into a land of inheritance. Each time the inheritance land opens, beings from Guangyuan heavenly domain and the other 4 realms surge in together, vying for the inheritance. This is the origin of the battle for inheritance. Upon finishing the information, Nan Gonghao's face revealed an expression of anticipation. There lies the true remains of a great emperor. He must go. for the inheritance land may hold the key to breaking the sixth chain of the heavens. Chapter 213. Has the ancient land declined? Just as Nin Gonghao stowed away the jade slip, Qin Shuiyao and her sister arrived. They had received their rewards from the sect. The first prize was entry into the ancestral land of Ing Zong, where they would be guided by a formidable ancestor. The second prize involved substantial resources for cultivation from Ing Zong. The third prize allowed them to select a technique or divine ability from the technique pavilion of Ing Zong. After all, Ing Zong is a supreme power. Their technique pavilion must house numerous treasures. Nan Gonghao was determined to enter. However, before he could set off, an elder from the affairs hall of Ing Zong arrived. Young Master Nan Gong, the sect leader has decreed that you may choose any technique or divine ability, but you must not impart it to others, not even to your descendants or relatives. The elder stated sternly. Of course, you may choose to decline, and we will provide other compensation. Nan Gonghao comprehended the sect's reasoning. After all, techniques are of paramount importance to a sect. Indiscriminate sharing with outsiders would only lead to its downfall. Yet, comprehension aside, Nan Gonghao was not overly courteous. What compensation can you offer? It is another technique, though incomplete, belonging to the ancient alien race known as the Hound. The elder produced a jade slip. The Hound of the ancient alien race is truly a top-tier powerhouse. Mastering its technique to the utmost might allow one to summon the true power of the Hound. However, Nan Gonghao showed no interest. Forget it. I shall choose to go to the technique pavilion instead. The elder was somewhat disappointed. Very well, follow me. The Qin sisters wished to accompany them, but were intercepted by the hurriedly arriving Luo Jiuqi. The sisters were to receive the sect's full support for their cultivation. Nan Gong, I understand you might be heading to that inheritance land. My current strength is too weak to accompany you inside. But when you emerge, you will surely see a version of me that is worthy of you. Qin Shuiyao earnestly vowed. Meanwhile, Qin Yena looked at Nan Gonghao with teary eyes. Brother Hao, if any seductress entangles you outside, just play along. Do not develop real feelings. Luo Jiuqi interjected. While the elder from the affairs hall remarked, even Nan Gonghao was rendered speechless, smiling wryly at Qin Yener. Given your talent, if only you focused more on cultivation, you would have long since become a sage king. What is so great about a sage king? My man will be an emperor, a celestial king. Qin Yena laughed, her exquisite face brimming with trust and adoration. Nan Gonghao believed that any man who beheld her smile would strive to cultivate diligently, not wanting to disappoint her. Even the women nearby felt their hearts race slightly. After all, beauty at its zenith is universally adored. Enough, enough, let us depart quickly. We Wunti want the sect leader and the ancestor to be kept waiting. Luo Jiuqi urged incessantly. Her own life had already been delayed by Nan Gongya, and she did not wish for her disciple to suffer a similar fate at the hands of Nan Gonghao. Why do these two have such a knack for causing trouble for girls? Watching the two women leave, Nan Gonghao followed the elder from the affairs hall to the technique pavilion. Along the way, the elder remarked, this time, the inheritance land will also see a team dispatched by Ing Zong. You may join us. I do not plan to collaborate with anyone for now. After all, I have the ancient lands pursuing me. It is inconvenient, Nan Gonghao replied coolly. There is no need for concern about that. As you might have noticed, not many have taken action against you, the elder said indifferently. Nan Gonghao chuckled lightly. The older generation of powerhouses finds it beneath their dignity to deal with me, a junior, while the juniors lack the capability to contend with me. The elder responded, indeed, but do you know why the central continent is famed for its abundance of strong talents, yet lacks many who can surpass you among the younger generation? Because those who can fight are all preparing for the battle for inheritance. Nan Gonghao raised an eyebrow. That is one of the reasons. Another reason is that the ancient land is no longer as mysterious and powerful as it once was, evoking fear in those who dare to approach it. It is important to note that in the past, the War of Inheritance was never fully open to all. Prior to each outbreak of the War of Inheritance, individuals from the ancient land would emerge to select the most outstanding prodigies to participate alongside them. However, this time, the ancient land has entirely relinquished the power of entry to beings from the outside world. What does this signify? Naturally, it indicates that they no longer have the confidence to gain an absolute advantage in the War of Inheritance. This represents a decline for the ancient land. The expression on the elder from the steward hall flickered with a peculiar light. Nan Gonghao also realized this. As the ancient land no longer holds the same invincible aura it once did, leading the beings from outside to lose their reverence for it. They even intentionally spared themselves, whom they wished to annihilate, to observe whether the ancient land would send someone to pursue and eliminate them, and whether such an attempt would be successful. This is a game of strategy, a silent contest between the external beings and those from the ancient land. Indeed, very few among the superpowers are foolish. Nan Gonghao pondered deeply. Soon, they arrived at the Pavilion of Techniques. The elder from the Steward Hall reminded him, this pavilion consists of 5 levels. You may freely choose from the first 4 levels, but entry to the 5th level is prohibited. Nan Gonghao decided to inquire in advance. What if I accidentally entered? He felt he often encountered various chaotic issues. If he were to inadvertently trespass into the 5th level and face dire consequences, it would indeed be troublesome. He was bold, but not to the extent of believing he could withstand the entirety of the Ying Nu sect. Even the seemingly ordinary elder from the Steward Hall exuded a terrifying power. Furthermore, the Ying Nu sect has many such elders, not to mention a host of ancestors resting in their coffins. Upon hearing Nan Gonghao's question, the elder fell silent. Soon, she sighed. In truth, the initial purpose of the Ying Nu sect's grand competition was to select the top 3 contestants, allowing them to enter the 5th level of the pavilion to choose divine abilities before participating in the War of Inheritance. However, due to the sudden change in rules by the ancient land this time, the competition has lost its significance, and the sect no longer permits the top 3 to access the 5th level. Therefore, if you truly manage to enter the 5th level, it will be fate. The Ying Nu sect will not hold you accountable. Nan Gonghao raised his eyebrows in surprise. Really? Yes, indeed, she replied. But there are 2 elders guarding the entrance to the 5th level, both of whom are stronger than I. You must exercise caution. The elder from the Steward Hall said with a smile. At that moment, Nan Gonghao abandoned the thought of entering the 5th level. Just the elder from the Steward Hall was beyond his capacity to contend with, let alone the 2 elders who were even stronger. Observing that Nan Gonghao no longer asked further questions, he proceeded into the Pavilion of Techniques, eliciting an amused smile from the elder. Kid, the Ying Nu sect has already granted you too many advantages. Do you still wish for more? Dream on. As Nan Gonghao entered the pavilion, he did not dwell on the matter and headed straight for the 4th level. After all, what treasures could possibly be found on the lower levels? Chapter 214. The Great Dream Heart Technique. The Emperor's Chance. The Ying Nu sect is indeed a formidable power. As Nan Gonghao made his way to the 4th level of the Pavilion of Techniques, he cast a casual glance at the first 3 levels. Many techniques and divine abilities here are exceedingly rare. Even the most obscure ones rival those cultivated by the top-tier powers of the Eastern Wilderness. This underscores the vast disparity. Fortunately, Nan Gonghao had already adapted. Under the watchful eyes of numerous Ying Nu sect disciples, he finally arrived at the 4th level. This area was spacious, filled with a multitude of books, beast bones, parchment, and jade slips. The various methods of recording techniques and divine abilities were evident, showcasing the extensive collection and long history of the Ying Nu sect. Standing before a bookshelf, Nan Gonghao glanced toward the distant staircase leading to the 5th level. Although the area appeared deserted, he could sense 2 powerful presences swirling above the staircase. He withdrew his gaze and focused on the bookshelf before him. He picked up a piece of parchment inscribed with the Heavenly Dragon summoning technique. A fire-based technique, when cultivated to its peak, allows one to stand shoulder to shoulder with the heavens and the sun. Beside it lay a crystalline bone, intricately engraved with complex patterns. Upon a brief examination, he discerned it to be the bone of a deep-sea beast. Through diligent study, one could master a water-based technique, transforming into a deep-sea beast, navigating the waters with unparalleled freedom. Unfortunately, Nan Gonghao found it unworthy of his interest. He continued to peruse the various techniques. The great rock spreading its wings, the demon bear mountain-splitting roar, the wind cannon, the dripping rain slaughtering god hand, and an array of techniques flashed before him. Although they seemed formidable, with several supreme paths already within him, Nan Gonghao found himself unimpressed. After spending over half a month searching, he had yet to find a technique that resonated with him. This compelled him to glance once more at the staircase leading to the 5th level. It was evident that the truly supreme techniques were likely stored above. Alas, he could not ascend. With a sigh, Nan Gonghao resolved to lower his standards. He no longer sought the most powerful technique, but rather the one that felt right for him. Thus, he embarked on a new round of searching. This time, he explored not only the 4th level, but also revisited the first 3 levels. Over a month passed, and at last he discovered 3 techniques that he cherished. The Diamond Law Avatar, a divine technique of Buddhism, capable of condensing an avatar that reaches the heavens and the earth, wielding immense strength. The Great Dream Heart Technique, a peculiar power of unknown origin, upon successful cultivation, allows one to condense a thought avatar that can traverse any location unhindered by restrictions. It can engage in battle or embark on adventures. And even if the thought avatar encounters issues, the self remains unaffected. It is both peculiar and practical. The third divine ability is rather strange, the Blood Demon Technique. A demonic path technique, when cultivated to its utmost, enables one to resurrect from a drop of blood. It can also disperse into blood to escape. However, this technique is incomplete. It can serve for fleeing, but is ineffective in combat. Among these three techniques, Nan Gonghao could only select one. After much deliberation, he ultimately chose the Great Dream Heart Technique. Given the dangers of the Inheritance Land, where he was still unfamiliar, this choice was prudent. While the path of replication could duplicate his body, many situations would ultimately be inconvenient. The Great Dream Heart Technique, requiring only a slight expenditure of spiritual power, could shield against most attacks, making it exceedingly useful. Though the selection process took longer than expected, with the impending entrance into the Inheritance Land, Nan Gonghao remained unhurried. With his innate talent, mastering this technique would not take long. In just 3 days, he thoroughly grasped it. Seated cross-legged within the pavilion of techniques, his eyes closed, he was enveloped in neither spiritual nor other forms of energy. Occasionally, elders arriving at the 4th level cast curious glances at Nan Gonghao, puzzled by what he was practicing. Was he merely in deep contemplation? However, soon, soft sounds of slumber escaped him. Many new sect elders were taken aback. This is the pavilion of techniques of a supreme power. And here we are on the 4th level. Countless individuals have devoted their lives and amassed all their wealth, yet few ever set foot here. How could Nan Gonghao be sleeping? This was beyond outrageous. Yet, unbeknownst to them, as Nan Gonghao sat cross-legged, a phantom slowly rose from within him. This phantom was formless and colorless, resembling a manifestation of non-existence. It gradually coalesced into the likeness of Nan Gonghao himself. This was the consciousness form produced by the Great Dream Heart Technique, a remarkable power. Even the several elders of the Saint King realm nearby failed to detect the presence of this extraordinary force. However, upon testing, Nan Gonghao discovered he could move freely and even choose whether to exert power. However, once power fills the air, it can be transformed into a tangible entity, instantly detected or subjected to attack. Nan Gonghao felt a sense of satisfaction. He could infiltrate, launch attacks, and even suddenly appear behind his enemies to execute them. Of course, there were not many worthy of such stealthy tactics. As he contemplated this, he suddenly turned his gaze towards the staircase leading to the 5th floor. Perhaps it was worth a try? The thought took root in his mind like a seed, growing wildly and refusing to dissipate. Unable to resist, he decisively approached the staircase to the 5th floor. Upon ascending the stairs, he encountered 2 formidable forces blocking his path. However, Nan Gonghao tested his consciousness and found that he could effortlessly pass through the barriers, filling him with immense joy. It seemed that the Demeng Tong Xianju was indeed extraordinary, capable of deceiving even the guardians of the most powerful forces. He breached the blockade and continued upward, soon arriving before a wooden door. Pushing it open would grant him access to the 5th floor, but a defensive array adorned the door, making it impossible to open. Nan Gonghao attempted to slip through the crack of the door, but as soon as he made contact, a radiant light illuminated the area. Accompanied by a perplexed voice, "How strange! What kind of power is this? It can manifest without form or appearance." Oh no, he had been discovered. Nan Gonghao's expression changed, and he immediately attempted to retreat. However, a vast force surged forth, enveloping him completely. Despite being merely a consciousness, he found himself unable to escape. Taken by surprise, Nan Gonghao had not anticipated being caught in this manner. Left with no choice, he forcefully dispersed his essence. The thought dissipated, and Nan Gonghao jolted awake. Seated on the ground, he cast a wary glance at the door to the 5th floor. The 2 guardians there were undoubtedly beings of immense strength within the realm of Shengren Wang. The Shengren Wang realm was indeed a peculiar level. Some were weak enough to be slaughtered at will by those in the Shengren realm, while others possessed power formidable enough to contend with quasi-emperors. Clearly, Nan Gonghao had encountered 2 exceptionally powerful Shengren Wang. Terrifying indeed, he decided against further attempts to infiltrate the 5th floor. After all, the place of inheritance held far more treasures. Just as Nan Gonghao was about to leave, a voice echoed from the 5th floor. that young man. Which technique from the Gongfa Pavilion are you cultivating? Nan Gonghao paused. Is there any benefit in revealing it? You can forget about ascending to the 5th floor. But I can provide you with a map to seek a great opportunity to become an emperor in the place of inheritance. The elder from the 5th floor laughed heartily. Chapter 2:15. Journey to the place of inheritance. In Shiye appears. The opportunity to become an emperor? Nan Gonghao raised an eyebrow. If such a fortune existed, why wouldn't you pursue it yourself? That opportunity lies in the place of inheritance, and Shengrun Wang cannot enter. The elder from the 5th floor replied nonchalantly. Nan Gonghao was indeed unaware of this rule. It was not recorded in the vast tomes of his master, who had never entered the place of inheritance and thus remained ignorant. Very well, you may provide me with the opportunity first. Nan Gonghao, realizing he was not a match for the elder, sought to secure the item before feeling at ease. With a swift motion, a map flew into his hands, clearly marking routes and locations. Nan Gonghao nodded slightly and remarked, Demeng Tong, Xinju. This technique seems to have been brought from the outer realms. The elder from the 5th floor expressed surprise. Nan Gonghao, who was about to depart, turned around at once. Outer realms? Yes, you must be cautious. Cultivating techniques from the outer realms brings you too close to beings from there, and they may sense your presence. At that time, they might take action against you. The elder warned. Nan Gonghao felt somewhat helpless. Why hadn't he mentioned this sooner? He had many enemies in the Guangyuan Tianyu, even before entering the place of inheritance. He was already being targeted by foes from the outer realms. Nevertheless, despite his helplessness, Nan Gonghao felt a flicker of anticipation, if unobstructed in his quest for treasures. Encountering those saints from the outer realms could prove advantageous for his future ventures into the outer battlefield. Thank you for the warning. Nan Gonghao expressed his gratitude with a cupped fist. You may leave, the elder from the 5th floor replied indifferently. Nan Gonghao promptly exited the Gongfa Pavilion, where he was greeted by an elder who had long been waiting for him. The teleportation array leading to the place of inheritance had already been activated. Xia and the others had been waiting for him for quite some time. Nan Gonghao stepped onto the teleportation array. The elder from the disciplinary hall frowned slightly and advised, if you can cooperate, please do so. If not, at least avoid conflict and present a united front. Xia recognized this was clearly directed at her. She shot a cold glare at Nan Gonghao and nodded, yes, elder. The other disciples also quickly nodded in agreement. Nan Gonghao replied calmly, I prefer to act alone. That's just splendid. Please do not appear before me, lest you sully my eyes, Xia retorted with disdain. She loathed Nan Gonghao, not only for stealing her admiration, Qin Shuiao, but also for entangling himself with other women. What a scoundrel. The elder from the disciplinary hall sighed upon hearing this and activated the array. The group was instantaneously transported away. Once they had departed, the elder from the disciplinary hall went to report to his sect leader. Nan Gonghao and the others have left. How likely do you think they are to bring back the legacy of the great emperor? The leader of the new sect inquired coolly. The legacy of the great emperor. The elder from the disciplinary hall's expression grew serious. In a moment of dire urgency, the Guangyuan Tianyu had combined everything from the ancient lands and the 7 supreme forces to summon a great emperor. Sadly, although that great emperor possessed boundless power, he could only exist for 7 days. After 7 days, the enemy retreated and the great emperor perished. The body and legacy of that great emperor were left behind in the place of inheritance. Should anyone acquire it, it would signify that person had obtained all the secrets of the 7 supreme forces. Naturally, the mysteries of the ancient lands would also fall into their grasp. Regrettably, when the great emperor fell, he concealed his body out of concern for innocent lives, hiding it in a location still unknown to this day. Over the years, the powerful beings from Guangyuan Tianyu and the other 4 worlds have been frantically searching. Whosoever finds it first would determine the fate of Guangyuan Tianyu. The elder from the disciplinary hall assessed the strength of the participants in this endeavor and shook his head. The chances of finding it are barely 1 in 10. The sect leader smiled faintly. What about the other forces? They are the same, the elder from the disciplinary hall replied, well versed in the strengths of the other factions, as he was responsible for gathering intelligence on them. Otherwise, the sect leader would not have inquired. The sect leader of the new sect gazed toward the direction of the place of inheritance, her eyes distant. In truth, I am rather eager for Nan Gonghao to surprise me. The elder from the disciplinary hall remained silent. She understood the talents from other forces better than anyone. Was Nan Gonghao strong? Indeed. Yet, the direct descendants of other factions were equally formidable. Furthermore, figures such as Xianyu, the daughter of the former great emperor, had come personally, remembering Xian Hiyu. The elder from the disciplinary hall felt a stirring in her heart and promptly said, "Sect leader, could it be that Xian Hiyu is collaborating with Nan Gonghao? What of it?" The sect leader was puzzled. "I cannot pinpoint why it is concerning, but if the two were to collaborate, it could lead to some uncontrollable situations," the elder from the disciplinary hall replied with a bitter smile. "That would be even better." The sect leader of the new sect's eyes glinted coldly. "Those trash from the outer realms truly deserve to suffer some hardships." The elder from the disciplinary hall's face also flickered with murderous intent. Indeed, unbeknownst to Nan Gonghao, the new sect's concerns loomed over him. He had already entered the teleportation array, arriving at the entrance of the place of inheritance. This area was a desolate wasteland, barren and void of life. It was said that the brutal energies of the place of inheritance had leaked out for years, rendering the land within 1,000 miles devoid of vegetation, and no living beings dared to approach. At this moment, however, a multitude of beings had gathered in this desolate expanse. Once, these beings were deemed unworthy of approaching this realm. However, the ancient land has opened its gates, enticing all creatures to venture forth. Naturally, the primary forces remain the 7 supreme powers, alongside several elite factions. The so-called elite factions, many of which are formidable in their own right, include the Li Long, the Phoenix Clan, and the Wu Clan. Many such peculiar fringe races possess remarkable strength, even capable of threatening the supreme powers. Yet, due to their inclination towards familial living and exclusion of outsiders, their influence and various other aspects pale in comparison to the supreme powers. At this moment, the Li Long and other factions are also on par with the 7 supremes, preparing to enter the land of inheritance. Xia and her companions, waiting for Nan Gonghao, arrived last. They immediately reported to the stronghold of the Ying Nu sect. Nan Gonghao chose not to accompany them, instead finding a place to stay alone. Yet the spot where he stood instantly became the most radiant in the entire venue. The members of the 7 supremes, along with those whom he had previously attacked, cast cold glances in his direction. Even some rogue cultivators exhibited expressions of schadenfreude or ill intent. Suddenly, a figure materialized. It was Yin Shiyi. This former prince of the North Wu Kingdom in the Donghuang region had pledged allegiance to the Invincible Dynasty under the Ziguang Marquis and had ascended the ancient sage ranking. Unfortunately, before he could bask in the glory, the ancient sage ranking was subsequently shattered by Nan Gonghao. The depth of Yin Shiyi's hatred and resentment was profound. At this point, he had already reached the 7-star sage realm, exuding a chilling aura as he fixed his gaze coldly upon Nan Gonghao. "I have heard of your audacity at the Ying Nu sect, but in the land of inheritance, you shall surely perish. Who gave you the courage to speak to me in such a manner?" Nan Gonghao scoffed. Yin Shiyi, sensing Nan Gonghao's formidable presence, smiled disdainfully. How could the illustrious scion of the Nan Gong family find himself in such a state of ignorance? Had no one informed him that the land of inheritance had been shattered in an ancient battle, transforming into a chaotic space where the laws of time and space could not be freely manipulated? Nan Gonghao, realizing the implications, retorted mockingly, "Do you truly believe that I rely solely on the pathways of time and space to defeat you? Is that not the case? Without them, what are you?" Yin Shiyi's lofty inquiries suggested he believed himself invincible. Not only he, but others also looked at Nan Gonghao with eager anticipation, particularly Lai Tu of the Sheng Mo sect. Clearly, everyone considered Nan Gonghao's reliance to be merely on the pathways of time and space, which would be restricted in the land of inheritance. They assumed Nan Gonghao would be at their mercy. However, Nan Gonghao had no intention of acknowledging these ignorant individuals, including Yin Shiyi. He merely searched the crowd, hoping to find familiar faces. Unfortunately, he found none. The prodigies from the Donghuang region, once brought forth, were absent, either in seclusion or barred from coming. After all, the land of inheritance was fraught with danger. Observing Nan Gonghao's indifference to him as he scanned the crowd, Yin Shiyi's expression turned icy. "Your arrogance shall not last long, for begone." Nan Gonghao's eyes glinted with coldness. Upon hearing this, Yin Shiyi's expression froze, followed by a surge of fury. "You!" Nan Gonghao boldly struck, opening a spatial black hole aimed at drawing Yin Shiyi within. Seeking death, a thunderous roar erupted from the Invincible Dynasty as a superlative expert approached for rescue. That individual was far more powerful than Nan Gonghao, an insurmountable force. Yet, Nan Gonghao did not flinch or evade. Instead, he directly hurled a forbidden artifact in response. This was an artifact he had replicated from the Sheng Mo sect's weapons during the martial competition at the Ying Nu sect. Since this item could be replicated, he had prepared several as backups. Now, he threw it forth. Such a powerful treasure would even startle the superlative sage king coming to rescue, forcing him to hastily evade. Seeing this, Yin Shi cried out in terror. Help! Unfortunately, under the threat of the forbidden artifact, no one dared to intervene. He was ultimately dragged into the spatial black hole, utterly crushed. Nan Gonghao, expressionless, glanced towards the Invincible Dynasty's camp. In the past, Tianyong City had granted his direct descendants the power of immunity. How much more so for the Invincible Dynasty? Indeed, in the distance, Yin Shi Yi quickly reformed, having not died, nor even sustained injuries. He merely appeared somewhat pale, his face reflecting guilt and embarrassment. The life-saving technique he had employed should have been used only upon entering the land of inheritance. Yet, unexpectedly, he had to resort to it here. Had it not been for Yin Shi Ye's exceptional talent, which had earned him a place on the ancient sage ranking, he would likely have faced severe repercussions. Even so, the members of the Invincible Dynasty shot him harsh glares. Meanwhile, from afar, a powerful figure of the Li Long clan roared in fury. That is our clan's forbidden artifact. Where did you acquire it? Naturally, it was gifted by you, Nan Gonghao replied coolly. Nonsense. Speak the truth. Otherwise, I shall annihilate you. The Li Long expert bellowed. Nan Gonghao mocked. Come then. The Li Long expert's face darkened, ready to charge forward. The formidable beings of the Invincible Dynasty naturally prepared to join him, alongside creatures from other factions, all eager to engage. In an instant, a thick atmosphere of murderous intent enveloped the desolate land, with many powerful presences exuding overwhelming and domineering auras. Many beings drawn to the commotion were taken aback. Were they truly about to engage in conflict among themselves before entering the land of inheritance? Nan Gonghao was indeed a harbinger of discord, stirring up strife wherever he went. Many male entities harbored an innate animosity towards such a handsome figure as Nan Gonghao, looking down upon him. However, numerous female beings could not help but worry for him, disdainful of those harboring murderous intent. They felt that the motive behind these individuals' actions stemmed purely from jealousy towards Nan Gonghao. These despicable men are utterly lacking in virtue. As these female beings witnessed Nan Gonghao remaining unperturbed in the face of so many adversaries, they could not suppress their admiration. Now, that is a true man, undaunted by the winds from all directions, standing tall and firm. Just as everyone anticipated a clash to erupt, a distant voice resounded. The land of inheritance has opened. Enter swiftly. Everyone was startled, turning their gazes toward the distance. A spatial rift had appeared, gradually stretching into a passageway. Hurry inside. This is the land of inheritance of my dreams. It will mark the beginning of my glorious journey. Charge. Hold hands. Do not stray from the group. Maintain formation. Do not panic. A throng of beings, their eyes ablaze with excitement, surged toward the spatial passage. Once they had all entered, Nan Gonghao discreetly left the teleportation array underground before stepping inside himself. Yet, before he could enter, a beam of light descended from the heavens, enveloping him. Nan Gonghao looked up to see a massive eye suddenly appear in the azure sky. It was merely one eye, with no other body in sight. Within that eye lay boundless authority and dominance. Nan Gonghao calmly inquired, "Individuals of the ancient land, you are forbidden to enter." The eye responded coldly. This was peculiar. Was there not a lack of restrictions? Nan Gonghao taunted. The eye offered no explanation, but shot forth a white line from its pupil, brimming with murderous intent. Clearly, the ancient land intended to personally eliminate Nan Gonghao. He shook his head slightly, teleporting to a distance. What is this? Realizing that no one outside is willing to help you eliminate me, you finally cannot resist taking action yourself to salvage your reputation? Silence. The eye erupted in fury, and then a vast net woven from white lines descended. This immense net obscured the sky and split the space it traversed. Nan Gonghao attempted to escape, only to discover he could not teleport out of the net's coverage. He sighed softly. Just how afraid are you of me? With a swish, Nan Gonghao vanished, reappearing upon the teleportation array he had previously inscribed. You anticipated my move? The eye in the sky grew increasingly incensed. He had not expected Nan Gonghao to have prepared for him in advance. Perhaps, considering your treachery, it would be foolish not to take precautions against you. Nan Gonghao tore open the fabric of space and entered the entrance to the place of inheritance, charging in without hesitation. The eye in the sky fixed its gaze upon Nangong Hao's retreating figure. If a glare could kill, Nangong Hao would have perished 100 times over. Alas, he was powerless to act. Furthermore, the spatial teleportation path must remain intact. Otherwise, the beings within would be doomed. Nangong Hao easily made his way into the place of inheritance. Yet, upon his arrival, he was unexpectedly ambushed. Chapter 217. The Seven Heroes of the Snow Mountain. Unyielding against a single blow. The ambushers were not the seven formidable forces one might imagine, nor were they elite powers like the Lilong or Wuzu. Instead, they were merely a handful of insignificant beings, a group of 7 six-star saints. They appear to be brothers by blood. Observing these wild men dressed like characters from a children's tale, Nangong Hao furrowed his brow. Wuzu, we are the 7 heroes of the Snow Mountain. The faces of these men bore a cold and fierce expression, their eyes filled with murderous intent. Nangong Hao had never heard of this small faction. However, given their 6-star cultivation, they likely had not accomplished anything remarkable. Indeed, the leader of the 7 heroes of the Snow Mountain stepped forward, coldly stating, "We, the 7 brothers, have just begun to carve our names in Zhongzhou, and we will use your head to make a name for ourselves. Nang House, go. Do you truly believe you can be my adversaries in this world? Enough of this idle chatter. Prepare your formation." The leader of the 7 heroes of the Snow Mountain shouted. The 7 swiftly formed a formation resembling the Big Dipper. To their credit, they did possess some skills. Each of the 7 emitted a beam of white light from their heads, sealing off the surroundings. Nangong Hao found himself encircled, feeling the spiritual energy around him rapidly depleting. Nearly dried up. Clearly, these individuals possessed the ability to confine the very heavens and earth. Subsequently, Nangong Hao sensed their strength seemed to have significantly increased, now possessing the resilience of a diamond body. This ability was commendable. Nangong Hao felt a desire to recruit them as servants. Now that he was here, he could not be expected to do everything himself. It was indeed time to have a servant to assist him. With this thought in mind, an aura of fierce wind emanated from Nangong Hao. He was determined to subdue these individuals personally. Attack! The 7 heroes of the Snow Mountain roared in unison, their figures shifting. Within this sealed space resembling the Big Dipper, phantoms flickered, making it difficult to discern their true positions. Unfortunately for them, a flash of golden light sparkled in Nangong Hao's eyes. His heavenly eye effortlessly pierced through their illusions. Great Dragon of Heaven! 2 golden dragons surged forth, crashing violently into 3 of the 7 heroes of the Snow Mountain. The trio screamed in agony, instantly grievously wounded and rendered incapable of resistance. If Nangong Hao could slay a Saint King, how could he possibly struggle against a few minor cultivators? This is bad. He is too powerful. The 7th brother of the 7 heroes exclaimed in terror. In the next moment, Nangong Hao appeared behind him in an instant. Holy Light Spear. Whoosh! The spear pierced through the 7th brother's body. In the briefest of moments, only 3 of the 7 heroes remained. Yet even they could not hold out for long. The fierce wind swirling around Nangong Hao erupted violently, transforming into countless blades of steel that sliced through the air. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Those raging blades swept through the heavens and earth, forcing the last 3 of the 7 heroes of the Snow Mountain out into the open. From the moment Nangong Hao was encircled to the defeat of the 7 heroes, no more than a few breaths had passed. This plunged the 7 heroes into a state of unending fear. They had believed that with their 6-star cultivation and 7 members, they could contend against Nangong Hao, who had lost access to the pathways of time and space, significantly diminishing his power. Yet they had never anticipated that he would still effortlessly defeat them. Seeing the wounded and despairing 7 heroes of the Snow Mountain, Nangong Hao remarked indifferently, "The ancient realm forbade your entry for a reason. It was indeed to protect you." Upon hearing this, the 7 heroes felt even more humiliated. To defeat them and then mock them? How utterly despicable. A warrior may be slain, but not insulted. If you have the ability, then slay us. The leader of the 7 heroes shouted. The other 6 brothers echoed his sentiments. Yes, if you have the ability, then kill us. Go on, kill us. We fear not death. They clamored defiantly, their necks craned, showing no fear of dying. Nangong Hao had already anticipated this. These brothers were clearly the type who, despite their average strength, fancied themselves exceptional. After a brief contemplation, he said, "Very well. Do not blame me for not giving you a chance. Follow me, and if you miraculously survive, I shall lead you to dominate the Guangyuan heavenly domain." The seven heroes exchanged glances, taken aback by Nangong Hao's words. They were skeptical of his promise. Observing their doubt, Nangong Hao directly stated, "Given the disparity in our strengths, do I have any reason to deceive you?" His words left the seven heroes feeling bitter, yet they found themselves believing him. Indeed, it would be all too easy for Nangong Hao to eliminate them. There was no need for him to deceive or toy with them. With this in mind, the leader of the seven heroes spoke solemnly. "Then you must guarantee that you will not exploit us before striking us down. As long as you remain loyal to me, you shall be safe, and even after we exit, you may choose to depart," Nangong Hao assured them. The seven heroes exchanged glances, gradually yielding. Fear of death did not equate to a desire for it. They had left the snow mountain to make a name for themselves, not to die in vain. Furthermore, the place of inheritance was filled with opportunities. They might yet have a chance to rise again. With this in mind, the leader of the seven heroes spoke again. "Very well, we shall follow you. What do you intend for us to do?" "What we will do could be discussed later. For now, let us recover," Nangong Hao replied, clasping his hands behind his back as he surveyed the surroundings. He was not there to act as their protector. Rather, he sought to understand the essence of the place of inheritance. The seven heroes of the Snow Mountain ceased their chatter and immediately sat cross-legged to begin recuperating. Nangong Hao calmed himself and scrutinized the area, finally comprehending why the pathways of time and space could not be utilized here. Centered around him, the entire vicinity was shrouded in an inky black sky. However, this was not darkness. Rather, it was the spatial barriers shattered by a previous battle, revealing the void beyond. The dark sky was entirely composed of the chaotic energy continuously surging from the outside realm. Here, any fluctuation of spatial power would trigger a backflow of chaotic energy. This chaotic energy was dense and peculiar, capable of obliterating any space created by cultivators. Nangong Hao attempted to teleport a stone out, only to see the chaotic energy surge in, shattering the spatial passage he had opened during the teleportation. Time Force operated on similar principles. Within the chaos, concepts of time and space did not exist, making these two powers susceptible to provoking chaotic upheaval. Nangong Hao turned his attention from the sky to the distant earth. He observed the ground, a dark red hue as if stained with blood. No grass grew, and only a few plants appeared, either being unusual beasts or poisonous flora that would perish upon contact. Even with the poisonous plants, many beings were still harvesting. Beyond that, Nangong Hao could see no further. His heavenly eye was hindered by the chaotic energy, limiting his vision. Within a radius of 10,000 miles, he could barely make out the details. Soon, the seven heroes of the Snow Mountain had recovered. Nangong Hao calmly stated, "Go seize those resources. If anyone pursues you, feel free to lead them here. I shall personally deal with them." The seven heroes exchanged glances but said nothing further, promptly springing into action. They initially aimed to gather resources, and now, with Nangong Hao's protection, they can collect even more. Why not take advantage of this situation? As for having to hand over what they collected to Nangong Hao, it is of little consequence. They can always pocket a portion for themselves. Chapter 218. The Emperor's Opportunity is known to all. Under Nangong Hao's directive, the seven heroes of the Snow Mountain ventured forth to seize numerous treasures. Many beings were filled with anger, yet the seven heroes were not to be trifled with. Although they could not match Nangong Hao's strength, the seven of them working together could easily bully weaker foes. Soon enough, they had indeed seized a considerable amount of resources. After all, the resources at the entrance were not coveted by many formidable powers or strong individuals. Meanwhile, Nangong Hao was studying the map provided by the elder of the Ying sect, which was said to lead to the Emperor's Opportunity. Upon verification, he discovered that the starting point of the map was not at this entrance. It appeared that the location of the openings varied each time. Fortunately, the cartographer was aware of this discrepancy and had left a distinct marker for the starting point, a mountain resembling a great tree. Nangong Hao utilized his Tianyin Tong to search. Although his spatial displacement ability was no longer usable, he still possessed the Swift Path and the Sacred Light Path, which could expedite his journey. Nangong Hao traversed tens of thousands of miles and finally discovered a mountain that was identical to the one depicted on the map. To confirm, he proceeded along the route for a while. Once assured that this path matched the one marked on the map, he returned to find the seven heroes of the Snow Mountain. Upon hearing that Nangong Hao was seeking the Emperor's Opportunity, they eagerly followed him. The leader among them even handed over a spatial bag containing over 100 poisonous herbs, 20 unknown exotic flowers, and the remains of several powerful beings who had perished there. Nangong Hao scanned the contents with his divine sense and found that the bag contained only ordinary items. It was unclear whether there were truly no high-quality goods or if these brothers had concealed them. Nangong Hao chose not to dwell on it, deciding to address everything after leaving this space. He led the group to the mountain resembling a great tree. However, just as Nangong Hao arrived, he discovered that Shiya from the Ying sect had already brought several female disciples with her. They too were holding a map, clearly indicating that this emperor's opportunity was not exclusive to Nangong Hao. It was only natural, as the elders of the Ying sect would not conceal such information from their own. Upon seeing Nangong Hao, Shiya immediately produced a device resembling a cannon and pulled the trigger toward the sky. Whoosh! Bang! The sound of a signal arrow exploded across the heavens. This was evidently a distress signal among the Ying sect. Nangong Hao shook his head slightly. Fool, this will only draw others to you. Better than being robbed by you. Shiya shot back, glaring at him. So you seek help because you feel inferior to me? Nangong Hao could not help but laugh heartily. Dream on. Shiya fumed. If it weren't for your shamelessness in always carrying forbidden devices, who would be beneath you? Just as Nangong Hao was about to respond, he noticed several streaks of light approaching from afar. They were not from the Ying sect strong individuals, but from the Bifang and Lilong clans. A total of 8 individuals from these two races had arrived. Among them were 2 young disciples, previously defeated by Nangong Hao on the martial stage. The rest were all Saint Kings, with 2 exuding an overwhelming and terrifying aura. It was evident that these were 2 exceptionally powerful Saint Kings. Shiya and the Ying sect disciples turned pale with fear. They had not anticipated that the enemy would arrive first. The Bifang clan's prodigies stepped forward, coldly declaring, Nangong Hao leave? Nangong Hao scoffed, you think that just because you have family elders here, you have someone backing you? The Bifang prodigy glared with resentment, recalling the humiliation of being forced to retreat after joining forces with others against Nangong Hao. The Saint King from the Bifang clan angrily retorted, if it weren't for our intention to defeat you honorably for revenge in the future, we would have struck you down already. Now, while we are still calm, leave at once. The strong individuals from the Lilong clan also glared at Nangong Hao with displeasure. The shame of defeat needed to be washed away with victory. Their clan's prodigies had been vanquished, prompting them to venture into the land of inheritance in search of opportunities to grow stronger. Once they gained power, they could defeat Nangong Hao again and cleanse their humiliation. Otherwise, they would forever bear the shame of being defeated, tarnishing their clan and damaging their Dao hearts, making it difficult to attain the great Dao. Nangong Hao regarded the powerful beings attempting to drive him away and quietly produced 5 forbidden devices, asking, I apologize. I did not quite catch what you said. The sight of those 5 forbidden devices left everyone present in shock. Even the exceptionally powerful Saint Kings from the Bifang and Lilong clans could not help but twitch their lips. How strange. This fellow had already consumed 1 forbidden device outside the land of inheritance. Yet now he produced 5 identical ones. What method had he employed to acquire these devices? If they were forbidden devices from the Eastern Wilderness domain, or even Imperial artifacts, they could have countered them. Yet 5 devices from the Central Continent were beyond their capabilities. Nangong Hao watched the expressions of the 2 clans' powerful beings shift and taunted, Speak up, don't worry, I truly didn't hear you. The 2 clans' strong individuals felt utterly stifled. Who would dare speak? If those 5 forbidden devices were hurled at them, they would be utterly defenseless. Though they had also brought forbidden devices, no one would be foolish enough to carry 5 of them openly. Thus, both clans began to feign ignorance. As if nothing had been said, let us go, let us seek the Emperor's opportunity. They declared, the outcome is still undecided, do not be arrogant. This fellow should be thankful that my clan Scion is seeking the great Emperor's body, otherwise he would have no chance to speak. A group of powerful beings discussed among themselves as they departed. Once they had left, Shiya looked gravely into the distance, pondering, strange. Why haven't the elders arrived yet? Nangong Hao utilized his Tianyan Tong to scan the area, finding no trace of the Ying sect's strong individuals within 1,000 miles. Your sect's elders must be preoccupied with something or someone. They likely won't arrive anytime soon, he kindly reminded, considering the Qin Shuiyao sisters. He then departed with the 7 heroes of the Snow Mountain. Meanwhile, Shiya and the others were left in a state of turmoil. One female disciple cautiously inquired, Second sister, Nangong Hao wouldn't deceive us, right? What should we do? Everyone else has gone to seek treasures. If we arrive late, we might miss everything. Not only is it about treasure hunting, but without the protection of the sect's elders, we could face great trouble here. Should we collaborate with Nangong Hao? The female disciples debated fervently, with some even timidly suggesting cooperation. Xia shot a fierce glare at the sister proposing cooperation and scolded. Nan Gonghao can barely protect himself. Collaborating with him is akin to seeking death. If you wish to go, do so, but I will not. The female disciple who had just suggested cooperation shrank back in fear, silenced. Just then, a female disciple clad in azure battle armor stepped forward, stating firmly, I believe my sister's suggestion is not without merit. We should indeed cooperate with Nan Gonghao. Although he is being pursued, he possesses 5 forbidden devices, which can safeguard him and possibly protect us. Chapter 219. The Appearance of the Dragon Emperor's Palace. This female disciple in azure armor, known as Ningxia, was a top prodigy of the Ying sect. At just over 20 years of age, she had already attained the status of 7-star saint and mastered 5 paths of power. In the outside world, she was extraordinarily formidable. Yet here, Ningxia was willing to collaborate with Nan Gonghao. Ningxia, as the second strongest member of the team after Xia, naturally spoke with authority. Even Xia could not dismiss her words and coldly questioned, do you realize that Nan Gonghao is exceedingly arrogant and will not cooperate with us as equals? Instead, he will seek to control us. As long as he values the Qin Shuiyao sisters, he won't recklessly send us to our deaths. Ningxia replied solemnly. In the face of absolute interests, what do such feelings matter? This is the opportunity of the emperor, Xia rebuked. The other female disciples nodded slightly. Although they considered Nan Gonghao infatuated and held a certain fondness for him, the allure of the emperor's opportunity could indeed change one's perspective. Ningxia shook her head. As you mentioned, Nan Gonghao is headstrong. He dares to provoke the ancient lands. I believe that even if he covets the emperor's opportunity, he wouldn't harm us. To take a step back, even if he wishes to harm us, what then? We could just as easily attract the attention of other dangerous individuals. Rather than passively awaiting danger, it is better to take a risk. Sister, I understand why you refuse to cooperate with Nan Gonghao. But now is not the time for personal grievances. If you wish to remain here, then so be it. Those willing to trust my sisters, follow me. Ningxia cast a disappointed glance at Xia before turning to her younger sisters and leaving without looking back to see if anyone followed. However, 3 individuals indeed followed her, leaving only Xia and a close junior sister behind. Xia, watching Ningxia depart along with her hesitant junior sister, could not help but grit her teeth. Yet, it wasn't long before she followed suit. Nan Gonghao was racing towards the location of the emperor's opportunity when he noticed the disciples of Ying Zong catching up behind him. The leading figure was a beautiful young woman clad in azure battle armor. Nan Gonghao, I am Ningxia. Perhaps we can collaborate this time. Ningxia said earnestly. I see no necessity, Nan Gonghao replied, maintaining his rapid pace with an indifferent expression. He was not angry. He simply preferred to venture alone. After all, with his capabilities, exploration was far easier on his own. Bringing along these disciples would only complicate matters, as he could neither treat them as servants nor disregard their safety. Xia, infuriated by Nan Gonghao's refusal, interjected, do not be ungrateful. Sister, do we not agree that I would make all the decisions? Ningxia shot a cold glance at Xia. Hearing this, Xia was visibly angered, but upon seeing Ningxia's serious demeanor, she could only grudgingly utter, you decide. Nan Gonghao was surprised, not expecting this Ningxia to be able to subdue Xia. Ningxia then addressed Nan Gonghao. I know you have a poor opinion of us, perhaps even viewing us as burdens. However, we possess a singular advantage that you need. Nan Gonghao smiled slightly. Are you implying that you are familiar with this area? No, we are not well versed in the Emperor's opportunity. However, you are only here to take a casual look. What you truly seek, like all beings here, is the body of the great Emperor, is it not? Ningxia inquired earnestly. Nan Gonghao nodded, indeed. That is splendid. Although we have never located the body of the great emperor, we have considerable experience to share with you, and we can inform you of areas we have already searched, saving you from unnecessary detours, Ningxia asserted confidently. This genuinely piqued Nan Gonghao's interest. The emperor's opportunity was ultimately illusory. Only acquiring the body of the great emperor would yield tangible benefits. Moreover, compared to other beings, Nan Gonghao's greatest shortcoming was that his family had never produced a great emperor. He was entirely ignorant of that realm and of this place. After a moment's hesitation, he finally nodded. Very well, we can collaborate, but you all must follow my commands without question. Upon hearing this, Xia's face darkened with anger, and she attempted to retort. Ningxia shot her a warning glance, then awkwardly remarked, does that not reduce us to mere servants? Only temporarily. Once your elders arrive, or we depart from here, we shall part ways. Nan Gonghao effectively acknowledged their status as subordinates. Xia could no longer hold her tongue, coldly stating, "I could never agree to that." Ningxiao remained silent this time. She too found it difficult to accept. After all, they were all prodigies. Who would willingly become a servant? At that moment, a violent disturbance erupted in the distance, as though something was emerging. Nan Gonghao immediately led the group of heroes towards the source. They arrived at the location marked on the map for the Emperor's opportunity, where a palace was slowly rising from the marsh. Only the upper half of the palace was visible, but it was evident that it was not large in scale. It likely contained spatial formations within, resulting in a smaller exterior and a vast interior. At the pinnacle of the palace stood a statue of a golden dragon, lifelike and radiating dazzling brilliance. One could even sense the awe-inspiring dragon's might emanating from it. "It is the Dragon Emperor Palace," one of the Yingzong disciples exclaimed excitedly. Nan Gonghao raised an eyebrow. Although he was not familiar with the legacy sites, he was well aware of the Dragon Emperor Palace. In ancient times, there existed a lineage of pure-blood true dragons, known as the Dragon Emperor Palace, which held most of the legacy of the ancient true dragons. The Dragon Emperor Palace was renowned in ancient times, having once shaken the heavens and all living beings. It was unexpected that their palace would be submerged in the marsh here. Clearly, the brutal battle that took place at the legacy site had inflicted significant losses, potentially leading to their annihilation, resulting in the Dragon Emperor Palace being buried here. Upon witnessing the Dragon Emperor Palace, other beings were instantly filled with excitement, particularly the Li Long clan. Their bloodline was not pure. If they could acquire the techniques within the Dragon Emperor Palace, they might be able to purify themselves and possibly regain the terrifying power of the ancient true dragon lineage. The commotion surrounding the Dragon Emperor Palace was so great that it attracted numerous beings passing through the area. A throng of individuals gathered, excitedly surrounding the Dragon Emperor Palace, easily numbering over 100. The Li Long clan, upon seeing this, became furious and roared, "Get lost!" They unleashed their full power, believing they could scare away all the onlookers. Unfortunately, they underestimated the allure of the Dragon Emperor Palace. Although the spectators were fearful, their greed compelled them to gaze longingly at the palace. Seeing this, the Li Long clan felt helpless. A powerful figure from the Baifeng clan remarked, "What is the rush? Let them enter and help scout the way." The Li Long Saint King's expression twisted with rage. These mongrels do not deserve to touch the noble Dragon Emperor Palace. Upon hearing this, Nan Gonghao frowned and retorted, "You are the real mongrel. Your own bloodline is impure. Yet you desire the techniques of the Dragon Emperor Palace to purify yourself and still have the audacity to speak ill of others?" Chapter 220. Elbow, enter the Dragon Emperor Palace with me. The Li Long clan, incensed by Nan Gonghao's mockery, erupted in fury. The Li Long Saint King bellowed, "Nan Gonghao, do not be arrogant. Can you withstand so many beings here?" Indeed, there were many beings present, but could he command them? Nan Gonghao replied with sarcasm. In response, the Li Long Saint King immediately turned to the crowd. "You foreign races, listen closely. Only those of dragon blood can activate the Dragon Emperor Palace. If you wish to enter with us, then slay Nan Gonghao." The surrounding beings, eyeing the Dragon Emperor Palace, were filled with hesitation. All eyes turned toward the palace, which was enveloped in a formidable dragon aura, majestic and domineering. Some beings attempted to approach with their divine sense, only to be violently repelled. Others, undeterred, flew forward, only to be engulfed by a golden aura that instantly obliterated them to nothingness. That individual was a 4-star saint, possessing 2 kinds of Dao power, yet was effortlessly erased in an instant. The surrounding beings were taken aback and began to believe the words of the Li Long clan. Inevitably, their gazes turned toward Nan Gonghao, filled with malice. After all, Nan Gonghao had already made a name for himself in Zhongzhou, and many harbored intentions to eliminate him. Gaining fame was trivial. The crux lay in the rewards from the ancient lands. Now, with the conditions to enter the Dragon Emperor Palace, the prospect of killing Nan Gonghao became even more tempting. With these thoughts, a group of beings gradually approached, all of whom were at the saint level, with several saint kings among them. Having experienced the previous competition of the Yingnu sect, they might not have dared to besiege Nan Gonghao outside, but this was the land of inheritance. Here, the most formidable paths of time and space that Nan Gonghao wielded could not be employed. These beings believed that Nan Gonghao might not withstand their combined assault. Xia observed this scene, her face turning ashen. "Nan Gonghao, why do you always attract such wrath?" Ningxiao's expression was grave. Although she considered herself powerful, Among the more than 100 beings present, few were easily provoked. Should an ambush occur, perhaps Nangong Hao could escape, but the disciples of the Ying new sect would surely suffer. In that moment, she felt a twinge of regret for aligning herself with Nangong Hao. However, he merely replied nonchalantly, "They are but a bunch of fence-sitters. Dealing with them is not a challenge." Then go ahead and deal with them," she retorted through gritted teeth. Facing the encroaching beings, Nangong Hao advanced instead of retreating, calmly stating, "Isn't it just about opening the Dragon Emperor Palace? I can do that too." The Lilong Tian Jiao immediately mocked. "Just you?" With no time for idle chatter, Nangong Hao directly invoked the Dragon God transformation. In the Eastern Wilderness, he had once summoned the remnants of an ancient true dragon using the power of time. He had intended to retain it, but the remnant insisted on leaving, bestowing upon him the Dragon God transformation instead. For a long time, he had seldom utilized this divine ability. As the transformation took effect, Nangong Hao transformed into the true form of a dragon, exuding boundless majesty. The many onlookers gasped and stepped back. The Lilong clan was also taken aback. What was happening? Why did Nangong Hao possess the divine abilities of the Dragon Clan? Moreover, his Dragon God transformation seemed to attract the fortune of heaven and earth, causing the distant Dragon Emperor Palace to resonate. He truly had the capability to open the Dragon Emperor Palace. "Not good. Stop him," roared Lilong Saint King, immediately channeling immense power to launch an attack. He had never considered allowing other beings to enter the Dragon Emperor Palace. He merely intended to use these fence-sitters to deal with Nangong Hao. Yet now, Nangong Hao clearly aimed to open the Dragon Emperor Palace and welcome everyone inside. This was intolerable for the proud Lilong clan. Nangong Hao had long seen through their scheme and bellowed toward the Dragon Emperor Palace. "Open." Instantly, the Dragon Clan's power enveloping the palace opened a pathway, revealing the true entrance. The surrounding spectators, who had initially prepared to attack Nangong Hao, upon witnessing the removal of the barrier at the Dragon Emperor Palace, some unhesitatingly abandoned their pursuit of him. Both attacking Nangong Hao and exploring the Dragon Emperor Palace were perilous, but the latter evidently promised greater rewards. The choice was clear. A multitude of onlookers surged toward the Dragon Emperor Palace. With a thunderous sound, some began to strike at the palace's gates, attempting to force their way inside. Seeing this, the Lilong Saint King was filled with rage. He wished to strike at those scrambling for entry, but was restrained by his kin. The Baifeng clan strongman also advised the Saint King against it. If they attacked these beings, they would be the ones besieged next. The Baifeng Saint King coldly regarded Nangong Hao. "You are indeed cunning, but do you think by allowing these people in, you will reap the benefits?" Nangong Hao paid no heed to these individuals, directly sweeping up the Shueshan 7 heroes and the Ying Nu sect disciples, charging into the Dragon Emperor Palace. "Damn it!" The Baifeng Saint King, feeling disregarded, gritted his teeth in frustration. "Let us secure control of the Dragon Emperor Palace, and we can suppress all beings here." The Lilong Saint King's icy thoughts echoed through the minds of several strongmen, who exchanged glances before simultaneously transforming into shooting stars, rushing into the Dragon Emperor Palace. Upon entering, it became evident that the Dragon Emperor Palace contained the path of space. From the outside, it appeared no larger than 3 rooms, but once inside, Nangong Hao and his companions discovered a vast expanse. Here lay a complete miniature world. The sky was a brilliant blue, the ground vast and boundless, even adorned with numerous forests. However, strangely, a sense of death pervaded the atmosphere. There was an overwhelming feeling of entering a world of demise. Yet, vibrant flowers and lush greenery thrived all around, teeming with life. At that moment, an Ying Nu sect disciple remarked, "Is so quiet here." Nangong Hao paused, tapping his forehead. "I mentioned it felt lifeless. There seemed to be no beings here, nor any spiritual energy, not even the power of the great paths." "What?" The others nearby were equally startled, hastily beginning their investigations. Indeed, within the Dragon Emperor Palace, communication with external laws, order, and even the great paths was nearly impossible. Fortunately, they were all saints, possessing their own inner world from which they could draw spiritual power and the strength of ordered laws. However, the spiritual energy within their inner worlds was limited. Without timely replenishment, it might be exhausted after just a few battles. "Be cautious and try not to engage in combat," she advised solemnly. Ningxia shared this sentiment. The disciples of the Ying Nu sect became exceedingly cautious. The Shueshan 7 heroes also felt a sense of dread. In contrast, Nangong Hao appeared unconcerned. He had ample means to restore his spiritual energy. The Li Long and Bai Fong clan strongmen, riding on a peculiar contraption, sped off into the distance. Clearly, they were well acquainted with the Dragon Emperor Palace, as they found a means of transport immediately upon entering. Upon seeing them depart, someone shouted, "Follow them. They must be seeking the inheritance." A large group of beings immediately surged after them. She also intended to lead the pursuit. Nan Gonghao coolly interjected, "Come back." Chapter 221. A man of unparalleled fortune, she had already taken to the air, ready to chase after the Li Long and Bai Fong clans. Upon hearing Nan Gonghao's words, she turned back, displeased, and asked, "What is it?" "I said come down." Nan Gonghao's eyes glinted coldly. Witnessing this, the disciples of the Ying new sect exchanged glances. Xia's expression darkened as she contemplated speaking, but Ning Xia preempted her, saying, "If we are to collaborate, we welcome it, but we will not accept being your subservient pawns." Upon hearing this, Nan Gonghao shook his head. "Then you may leave." Leave." Xia ceased her protests and turned to fly away. Ning Xia and the other sisters hesitated momentarily before also departing. As disciples of the Ying new sect, one of the 7 supreme forces, they were naturally proud. Collaboration was acceptable, but they would never acquiesce to becoming someone else's pawns, especially not to a man. Seeing these women take flight, the leader of the Shueshan 7 heroes expressed confusion. "Master, collaborating with them should be beneficial. Why insist they become your subservients?" "I do not require collaboration, nor do I appreciate disobedience," Nan Gonghao replied indifferently. The Shueshan 7 heroes exchanged glances, not daring to speak further. With the Ying new sect disciples now dismissed, Nan Gonghao felt a sense of relief. He gazed into the distance and discovered that many others, like him, had not pursued the Li Long clan. However, these individuals remained hidden, seemingly anticipating something. At the center of these hidden figures stood a youthful scholar. He was extraordinarily handsome, exuding a warm smile and an indescribable aura of ethereal nobility. Upon noticing Nan Gonghao's gaze, the youth responded with a friendly nod. Upon witnessing the scene, the 7 heroes of Snow Mountain displayed expressions of astonishment. "Master, follow him," the leader of the 7 heroes urged in a hushed tone. "Why?" Nan Gonghao inquired, perplexed. The individual in question, known as Su Wuhui, was a remarkable figure from Zhongzhou. He belonged to no sect and had no formidable backing. He was merely at the 1-star saint realm, yet none dared to provoke him. "Do you know why?" The leader of the 7 heroes teased with an air of mystery. Nan Gonghao, indifferent, retorted, "Do you believe you possess the standing to speak to me in such a manner?" Upon hearing this, the leader of the 7 heroes felt somewhat embarrassed and earnestly explained, "Su Wuhui is renowned in Zhongzhou, not for his efforts, but due to his extraordinary luck. Since he commenced his cultivation at the tender age of 3, he has never exerted himself, accumulating his realm solely through various miraculous heavenly treasures that bear no aftereffects. These treasures were often found as he strolled, or would miraculously descend from the sky. Even a wild fruit, plucked casually, would be a superior spiritual object. To attain the noble realm, one must traverse through 72 layers of the earthly fiend world, yet he breezed through without encountering a single fiendish obstruction. Upon reaching the 72nd layer, an emperor of the Yin fiends even graciously gifted him his territory to facilitate his passage. During his ascension to the royal realm, he again faced no difficulties, with even the former sovereign of the heavenly court not permitting him onto the divine ranking. Furthermore, it has been noted that he has navigated through 21 various secret realms and perilous lands, some of which have nearly caused the downfall of ancient emperors. Remarkably, he emerged unscathed, consistently encountering fortuitous benefits. There were even attempts on his life, yet regardless of the assailant's cultivation level, those who dare to strike at him would suddenly face catastrophic misfortunes. When he first attained the Saint Realm, a formidable being from an ancient land sought to capture him, only to encounter an unforeseen calamity and perish. Since then, no one in Zhongzhou has dared to provoke Su Wuhui. Nan Gonghao, who believed he had witnessed enough marvels, found himself astonished. Su Wuhui seemed even more like a protagonist than he did. Such overwhelming fortune was indeed celestial. Was this the son of heaven descending to earth? Unable to contain his curiosity, Nan Gonghao activated his Buddhist powers to discern Su Wuhui's luck. He beheld a blinding radiance emanating from Su Wuhui, enveloping the surrounding expanse. This was pure fortune, saturating the very heavens and earth, a spectacle beyond words. Nan Gonghao could hardly contain his admiration. At that moment, Su Wuhui, who had been meandering, paused and gazed downwards. Instinctively, Nan Gonghao followed suit, only to discover a sword embedded in the ground. The hilt was decayed, resembling a mere piece of rotting wood. However, when Su Wuhui curiously extracted it, a resounding clang echoed, akin to a dragon's roar that startled the surroundings. Upon seeing this sword, Nan Gonghao finally grasped the magnitude of Su Wuhui's fortune, for from the decayed sword, he sensed the essence of a true dragon. This indicated that the sword had indeed slain dragons, not merely one. If wielded against the Dragon Clan, it would wield tremendous counteractive power. This was undoubtedly a supreme treasure, and Su Wuhui had merely stumbled upon it during his casual stroll. Yet, Nan Gonghao shook his head and turned to depart, heading in the opposite direction of Su Wuhui. The 7 heroes of Snow Mountain were taken aback. The leader immediately queried, "Master, why are we distancing ourselves from him?" "Fool! Such a person with extraordinary luck will monopolize all benefits. Following him would only hinder our chances of finding treasures. Moreover, his fortune shields only himself in times of calamity. It will undoubtedly be transferred to others first, so being near him would only invite misfortune." Before the words had left his lips, a shattered dragon spirit erupted from the ground where Su Wuhui had pulled the sword, unleashing a torrent of malevolent energy that enveloped a 10-mile radius around him. Nan Gonghao and his companions hastened away, avoiding any repercussions. However, those lurking in the shadows, hoping to benefit from Su Wuhui, were met with dire consequences, caught in the explosive malevolence of the broken dragon spirit. Meanwhile, Su Wuhui remained unharmed, as the sword he wielded instinctively recognized him as its master, providing protection. Witnessing this scene, the 7 heroes of Snow Mountain broke out in cold sweat. Thank goodness they heeded Nan Gonghao's advice to keep their distance. Otherwise, they would surely have met with misfortune. Although Su Wuhui appeared innocent, he was not foolish and cast a disdainful glance at the beings that had been forced from their concealed states. Then, he turned his attention to Nan Gonghao, a smile gracing his face. After a moment of contemplation, he tossed the sword over to him, saying, "This is for you." Nan Gonghao frowned. "Why?" Su Wuhui replied with a charming smile, "Because you please my eye. No free lunch, since you gifted me the sword. I shall offer you a piece of advice. The sun at its zenith begins to decline, the full moon inevitably wanes. Extremes lead to reversals. This is the cycle of fate." Nan Gonghao caught the sword and turned to leave. Su Wuhui stood there, musing over the words he had just repeated. Soon, he comprehended their meaning. No one can remain perpetually fortunate. Even the most extreme luck can transform into misfortune. For instance, Su Wuhui was currently immensely fortunate, constantly discovering treasures. Yet, he was equally unfortunate, forever unable to forge genuine friendships and perpetually subjected to scrutiny, deprived of true freedom and joy. Is this not the greatest misfortune? Extremes lead to reversals. This is the cycle of fate. Su Wuhui's eyes sparkled with excitement as he rushed towards Nan Gonghao. "Brother, shall we collaborate?" Chapter 222, Brother. You are my brother. The 7 heroes of Snow Mountain were taken aback by Su Wuhui's unexpected proposal for collaboration. They had always heard that Su Wuhui preferred to wander alone, impervious to even the most beautiful women or those who feigned compatibility with him. Now, he sought to partner with Nan Gonghao. What charm did Nan Gonghao possess? Yet, to collaborate with him seemed to invite misfortune. The 7 heroes were filled with trepidation, instinctively retreating a step. Meanwhile, Nan Gonghao stated coolly, "I do not enjoy collaborating with others. If you wish to accompany me, you must obey." This was the first time Su Wuhui had encountered someone speaking to him in such a manner. Given his level of luck, others typically begged to follow him. Now, Nan Gonghao was suggesting he become a subordinate. Su Wuhui was reluctant and replied earnestly, "I believe we should establish dominance through strength, shall we?" "Very well, but sparring with someone of your caliber would be unfair. Let us instead compete in strategy, shall we?" Nan Gonghao inquired. Upon hearing this, the 7 heroes were left speechless. Even Su Wuhui couldn't help but chuckle. "Are you certain you can defeat me? Perhaps determining a victor may be somewhat troublesome, but eliminating you would be effortless." As Nan Gonghao's words faded, he had already appeared behind Su Wuhui, his finger poised at the back of Su Wuhui's head, surrounded by 18 paths of power. Should he wish, he could effortlessly pierce through Su Wuhui's unprotected skull. Su Wuhui's body stiffened. He felt a genuine threat of death. It was a sensation he had never experienced throughout his life, despite years of cultivation and even encounters with formidable beings from ancient lands. This left him in a state of disbelief. The 7 heroes of Snow Mountain were equally startled and anxiously looked around. Yet curiously, everything seemed unaffected. There were no unexpected events, no divine retribution, and no one emerged to protect Su Wuhui. It seems Su Wuhui's invincible luck had, at that moment, faltered. How did you accomplish this? Su Wuhui found it difficult to comprehend, mechanically turning to face Nan Gonghao. Wasn't it just extraordinary luck? Everyone possessed some measure of it. Nan Gonghao, too, radiated a rich aura of fortune, a pure golden luck that resonated with the harmony of dragons and phoenixes, along with auspicious beasts traversing through. Although not as formidable as Su Wuhui, as long as he could swiftly vanquish him, there would be no need to worry about the backlash from the heavenly Tao. Do you see? This exemplifies the perils of excessive reliance on luck. It is not only you who possesses immense fortune. Moreover, if you truly possessed great strength, how could those fellows dare to pursue you? Nan Gonghao remarked casually. Su Wuhui was profoundly moved. He had heard of Nan Gonghao's reputation. This individual garnered more attention in Zhongzhou than he did, and even had more enemies. Yet, Su Wuhui found himself under constant surveillance, deprived of freedom, while Nan Gonghao lived freely and unrestrained. If only he possessed Nan Gonghao's formidable prowess, would he not be free of concern? Contemplating this, Su Wuhui turned earnestly to Nan Gonghao. I understand now. We need not compete in strategy. From now on, I shall heed your counsel, brother. He readily acknowledged him as an elder brother. Nan Gonghao did not decline. Having such a fortunate younger brother seemed rather agreeable. Just then, a small white orb suddenly flew from the distance. What is that? Nan Gonghao felt a twinge of caution. Oh, it's nothing. It must be a treasure. Subuidi plaid nonchalantly. Every time I seek to enhance my strength, good things seem to come flying to me. I have grown accustomed to it. Nan Gonghao was taken aback. He had never encountered such a display of nonchalance. To his astonishment, the white orb indeed soared towards them, landing directly in Su Wuhui's embrace. With his mastery over the path of elixirs, Nan Gonghao immediately discerned the orb's origin. It was a divine elixir, imbued with medicinal potency accumulated over hundreds of thousands of years, having already attained sentience and the ability to transform and flee. Given a suitable opportunity, it might awaken its spiritual consciousness and evolve into a sacred spirit. Crucially, this divine elixir not only elevated cultivation, but, due to its own evolution, possessed some peculiar abilities. Some could bestow the consumer with the power of the Tao, while others directly aided in the awakening of divine abilities. There were even those that could create a doppelganger. In summary, it was endowed with various extraordinary capabilities, making it immensely precious. Countless supreme forces struggled to acquire even one or two. Now, it had willingly flown into their hands. Su Wuhui, accustomed to such fortune, casually popped it into his mouth, savoring its chicken flavor. Boom! A violent aura erupted from Su Wuhui. Nan Gonghao could only chuckle wryly. Now, that is what one calls fortune. Surely, misfortune would soon befall those around them. As expected, 2 sovereign kings charged in from afar, evidently in pursuit of the divine elixir, their strength formidable. You all should leave and search for resources elsewhere. Nan Gonghao turned to shoo away the 7 heroes of Shuashan. Without hesitation, they turned and fled. 2 sovereign kings could easily obliterate them with a mere finger. Meanwhile, Nan Gonghao surged forward, appearing behind one of the sovereign kings in a flash. A spear of holy light coalesced and shot forth. The sovereign king let out a muffled grunt, and unexpectedly, a suit of radiant armor manifested around him. The spear struck it and was instantly annihilated. Who does not wield the power of the light Tao? The sovereign king waved his hand, and a multitude of weapons composed of light coalesced, hurtling towards him with lethal intent, capable of slaying those of the same light Tao. Nan Gonghao summoned a shield of light to deflect these radiant weapons. Then, the other sovereign king pointed from a distant spine. A strange force enveloped Nan Gonghao, transforming into a seal that confined his spiritual power. Even his very soul felt an overwhelming fatigue, as if it yearned to succumb to slumber. Nan Gonghao stirred his soul, exploding into a multitude of light points in an attempt to break free from the confinement. Just then, a massive beam of light descended, obliterating his body in an instant. The replica body of Nan Gonghao disintegrated immediately. Left with no choice, he concealed himself within the mustard seed space and created another replica, simultaneously launching 2 forbidden artifacts. Boom! The terrifying force erupted, sending the 2 previously invincible sovereign kings into a panicked retreat. Even the Dragon Emperor Palace trembled violently from the impact. Yet, at the eye of the storm, Su Wuhui was erupting with a golden light. That was the light of enlightenment. As expected. How could someone so fortunate not possess the light of enlightenment? Nan Gonghao withdrew his power, quietly waiting beside Su Wuhui while secretly employing the replication Dao to craft new forbidden artifacts. Utilizing these artifacts was exhilarating, yet their creation was exceedingly cumbersome, requiring a significant expenditure of Nan Gonghao's strength. However, he had no choice but to forge them. The recent encounter with the two sovereign kings had already proven that enemies lurked nearby. Indeed, those foes could easily slay him, and this was merely the denizens of the Guangyuan Tianyu world. What would happen if outsiders appeared? With a sigh, Nan Gonghao lamented the unbearable nature of places devoid of entrance restrictions. So on, so buidigan ganchis.